I usually start off these rants laughing because I usually am excited to do a rant. Ladies and gentlemen, I have not been had my balloon poked and flattened and punctured as bad as what I've been witnessing on fees this weekend. I haven't seen an HOH flop as hard since maybe Caitlyn backdooring Swaggy, Fessy taking out Scotty. I mean, when you talk about incompetent moves, when you talk about bad gameplay, when you talk about just emotional over logical, that's Carson KRESSLEY and Cynthia Bailey's gameplay. You know, throughout this entire season, I've been giving Cynthia credit that other people didn't give her credit for. I was assuming she was growing within the game based off certain pivoting prowess she administered. I brought up how when it was time to snitch on KIRKPATRICK and Shayna MOAKLER to Todrick, I gave her credit for that. Why? Because she was showcasing pivoting prowess. But my problem with you, Cynthia, is that when it's convenient, you act as if you're this straight up player, but you've been playing both sides since week 2 because Todrick is your little rat. And my problem is you can't be on this high horse of a moral compass and act as if everything you do can't be G-checked. Everything you do is honorable. But in reality, I could create the argument the only straight up player left in this house is Todd Bridges. No one else is playing a straight up game. All of y'all have begun to sell your soul. And see, that's my problem. Cynthia and Carson were supposed to be different. As fans, we looked forward to this HOH weekend because we thought they would make the obvious noms of Todrick and MIESHA. Carson makes a deal with Todrick. Soon as he wins HOH, he makes a deal with Todrick right before Todrick falls. Todrick wouldn't have lasted more than 5 minutes. You clearly would have washed him. Didn't have to offer him a deal at all, but you still give it to him. Then after you win the HOH, you talk to the camps and say this was for TEDDI. But you gave a deal to Todrick just like MIESHA did the same exact night she didn't give a deal to TEDDI. Only to then give Todrick special treatment and act as if him playing both sides is okay, but Shayna playing both sides is foul. I could create the argument Carson is becoming MIESHA from week 1. Todrick is still Todrick, the only one given a deal. And now Shayna is TEDDI. But this duo is trying to create the argument everything they're doing this week is for TEDDI. TEDDI would want you to get out MIESHA or Todrick this week. And that's why in this rant, ladies and gentlemen, which I believe is the 13th rant of Celebrity Big Brother Season 3, I'm going to break down why Carson KRESSLEY and Cynthia Bailey completely flopped this week by allowing Todrick Hall, Apex Production Pet Incorporated, to manipulate them into looking like fools. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame. Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Recency bias radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trail, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, and the No Sleep Assassin, here to bring balance back to Celebrity Big Brother, cause if I don't say it, no one else will. You feel it, dig me? I can feel the stones growing, and it's all of the above on that ISET test and ACT. You know what it is. And ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the 13th rant of the season entitled Tables Have Turned. I don't want to waste any more of your time. That intro was long, but I understand we got some stuff to discuss tonight. See, normally a deep dive I pre-record because I don't want this connection to mess up and it's going to be long. But in this case, I just got done watching Sunday night's episode. I was late to it, of course, because of the Super Bowl. I watch it, pre-recorded, so I skimmed through the commercials and stuff like that. They gave the casuals little to no real intel on what really happened during those fights. I'm going to break down every facet of these fights. And y'all know me. See, I did this to defend Davon and Bailey. So understand, it's not as if I'm only out to defend black people in these fights. In this rant, you all are going to see how unbiased I truly am. Because when it comes to holding Cynthia and Carson accountable, but doing it in a respectful way, I'm going to try my best to toe that line. But understand, the same tactics MIESHA and Todrick use to attempt to bully Chris into taking out Carson week 2 are the same exact tactics they use to bully Shayna this week. And what makes it worse is Cynthia helped in the bullying. Ladies and gentlemen, call me crazy, but don't it feel like Cynthia's the HOH even though she ain't won shit? Why she doing most of the talking? She ain't earned it. Carson did. But it's almost as if this is her time. This is her HOH room. Huh? I don't want to go too crazy. I want to get into the notes. Because I know me. When I get into freestyle mode, I start saying stuff, and even if it's true, people take it out of context because I didn't bring up the notes first. So let's get into these notes. Because I want to make sure people do not take me out of context here. Because we're going to stick to the gameplay. And I'm going to break down why this is a lot of pot calling kettle black going on. And don't get it twisted. I said they didn't trust Shayna. I told y'all they preferred to keep Todrick over Shayna. I told y'all they wanted to get rid of MIESHA, keep Todrick to target Shayna. All of that has been exposed this weekend. And I called it like 7 days ago. But with that said, I still never saw this massive choke in a Carson KRESSLEY HOH. I still prefer the Shayna HOH, but I still didn't see it in you, Carson. And see, part of me feels like you gotta make this all about Cynthia because Todd got into that fight with her the same day you won HOH. So in your mind, I gotta make sure Cynthia feels like she's part of the decision making here because of what Todd just did. And if that fight was fake and production put Todd up to doing it, doesn't it seem a little too convenient for Todrick to take advantage of that? Don't worry, I'm gonna connect these dots. Don't worry. I just want y'all to keep that in your mind. Because when we get into these notes, y'all going to realize I'm the greatest of all time. Now, let's go. Now, these live feeds are all about Saturday. And that's really all y'all want to hear about. But I'm going to start off on Friday night. Todrick flops during the endurance comp and loses head-to-head to Carson KRESSLEY. Carson makes a deal with him to keep him off the block. If I'm MIESHA Tate, I'm pissed with Todrick here. The guy convinced her to take out a man, in KRESSLEY, who is infatuated with protecting her just to fail to protect her against her biggest nemesis in the game. Make no mistake about it here, Todrick sold MIESHA out. And for him to ask for a deal and don't include her in it, even worse. And see, deals are meant to be broken, Carson. Dan Giesling, one of the greatest players of all time, broke a wall comp deal he made with Ali, remember? Does Dan win that season if he adheres to that deal? No. Probably April or Ali win it. Doesn't MIESHA and Todrick give y'all April and Ali vibes a little bit? Like if you don't split them up now, one of them will win? What did you learn from Ross Matthews? Do you just assume the jury was bitter so you gotta be a total walkover all season? I'm trying my best not to girl. And thank you so much for the super chat, Lola. I appreciate it. Trust me, it's going to be worth every dollar what I say in this rant. All right? If you know Shayna fans, send them over here. Share this video. I'm about to go in. And we ain't even really got started yet. Woo, I'm about to go in. All right, enough of the teasing. Let's go. MIESHA is clearly disappointed in Todrick for cutting a deal and only caring about himself. Todrick already knew he was more safe than MIESHA, and I bet his built-in excuse for not asking for MIESHA's safety will be, I told you, Carson isn't after you, until she hits that block. Now, that wasn't his built-in excuse. You know, at the end of the day, he just cut the deal because he had a bad knee, but I digress. But did you notice how during tonight's episode, Cynthia showed the awareness of knowing Todrick winning HOH would be bad for her and Carson because they would both be back on the block. She even rooted for Shayna to win HOH over Todrick. How does someone the next day go completely into a 180 and spiral out of control? Don't worry, I'm going to break down why I think production's playing a role in this too. Don't worry. See, we gotta bring y'all along slowly so y'all understand this isn't personal for me. This is all logical. And this is why I'm taking Shayna's side. Now, around 8:30 p.m., Carson says, "That was for you, Teddy, in the pink room." Shayna and Cynthia meet up in the room and they all celebrate together. We saw that tonight. They got in the huddle. Ha ha, yeah! Now, I believe the three-person alliance is called the Swisters. Some people have called them the Twisters, but I think it's Swisters, like Swiss cheese, because they're supposed to be Switzerland, as in they're cool with everybody, but they're sisters with each other. That's what I assume their alliance name was. So much for that lasting. Blew up in a day, but I digress. Now, I'm sure this will make it on Sunday's episode, The Celebration. The three players are part of an alliance called the Swisters, which I assume is meant, like I mentioned. Apparently, Todrick approached Shayna in the bathroom, all ready to ask if Carson will keep his word to him. A nervous Todrick is going to be Feed's gold this weekend. So understand, as early as Friday night, I got my hopes up still. All right? We all did. All right, I got to bring you all along chronologically through the mindset of a superfan watching these feeds. On Friday, we're on cloud 9. By the time Saturday comes, we're captivated, but we're completely confused and perplexed. All right, now, Shayna starts clowning MIESHA and Todrick for now all of a sudden wanting to cook and clean for the house now that Carson is in power. Even Cynthia got a good laugh out of that one because it was true. And I fully expect Todrick to act like he was loyal to the Gays and Girls Alliance this entire time, which he did, trying to pander to avoid the block. This is exactly what this season needed, some parity with the HOH victories. Sounds like initial noms will be Todd and MIESHA. I don't agree with this move at all, because only one player isn't picked for veto this week. They are setting Todrick up to save the day if he wins veto and look like Superman. And it would defeat the entire purpose of winning this HOH, because MIESHA and Todrick get another long HOH from Monday to Friday if they survive this week. And superfans don't want to sit through that again? Are you kidding me? Sitting through another MIESHA HOH that lasts 4 or 5 days, I don't think I got it in me, man. I really don't. It weighs on you, man. And this is why this flop of an HOH is even more unforgivable. Because it should be weighing on Carson, who's been the target for 3 weeks. But we'll get there. Question is, who touches the block if MIESHA wins veto? If Carson keeps his deal, he has to nominate LAMAR, which could make LAMAR work with MIESHA and Todrick again to go after Carson. Why risk hurting the 4 you have to keep a deal with a player who doesn't even care about jury management? It doesn't add up to me. MIESHA appears to be super pissed about what happened. The Wonder Twins agree that Chris F'd them with no lube by flipping to the other side, but the truth is, Todrick screwed over MIESHA 2 weeks in a row. He got rid of Chris over LAMAR, and he made a deal without including MIESHA in it despite acting like Carson and Cynthia liked her last week. You could argue Todrick has managed to withhold MIESHA from alliances just like MIESHA kept Shayna from that Final Four deal the athletes had. And that Final Four deal will rig its ugly head later. So in theory, Todrick shouldn't feel screwed at all by Chris if MIESHA remembers the lies he told her. MIESHA did all of Todrick's dirty work just for him to think of only of himself when the biggest threat in the house was up against him in the Endurance HOH. Coward stuff. Now we can get into Saturday's feeds, because this is when all heck broke loose, and this is the stuff y'all want to hear me chime in on. I know what it is. Now, around 8 a.m., LAMAR talks with Carson, Cynthia, and Shayna to figure out if he is safe from the block. LAMAR clearly wants MIESHA gone as much as the Pink Room 3 do. Carson reiterates that Todrick won't be touching the block because of that horrible deal he gave him. But he does make it sound like he hasn't completely ruled out backdooring Todrick as early as Saturday morning. LAMAR leaves the Pink Room. Cynthia claims this is all a plea deal of some sort to keep the rest of the house in the loop so they never feel like how Carson and Cynthia felt for many weeks of the game. But if LAMAR is already working with them and they clearly can't help but give Todrick special treatment, I don't see why this is even necessary. Shayna is with them after using the veto, and LAMAR is ready to let MIESHA go. They have the 4-player majority in Final 7, but their lack of killer instinct when it comes to Todrick may just be what ruins this season. Cynthia is acting like this is her HOH a little too much for my taste, and that is also influencing Carson to be as emotional as she is this week and doing what she would do if she were him. But anything other than the Wonder Twins next to each other is a flat-out choke job. Shayna tells Carson and Cynthia that Todrick will need to be reassured that he won't touch the block, so Carson runs and grabs him. We saw this during tonight's episode with the 4 of them in that room. Carson then tells Todrick he will nominate MIESHA and Todd. He says if Todrick plays in the veto, he wants him to keep noms the same. Of course, Todrick agrees to this because no good player in their right mind would keep this deal. This is the same deal Dan would back on with Ollie. Going back on that deal one day in the game. Todrick and MIESHA are a lot like April and Ollie, just a platonic version. If you don't take one of them out, they both are going to dominate the late game. Todrick, of course, says this deal is scary for him, but with that said, he is going to say yes to it even if he has to lie because that's the game. If Chris would have just lied in front of MIESHA, maybe he is still in the house. I can't clown Chris for ruining his own game and then be mad at Todrick for capitalizing off poor gameplay. This deal puts Todrick #1 on my power rankings easily. You're handing him the keys. Shayna then mentions how if MIESHA wins veto and Todrick isn't the back door, that means LAMAR has to go up. Notice how Cynthia and Carson never once said Shayna will not go up like they said Todrick wouldn't. This was the beginning of CNC revealing themselves as bad players. How do you not promise the same thing to Shayna but give it to Todrick? How can Carson claim he won this HOH for TEDDI on Friday, but then go and do the same thing to Shayna that MIESHA did to TEDDI? He literally offered a deal to Todrick that doesn't apply to anyone else. How is that paying respect to TEDDI? Wasn't Todrick fighting TEDDI on her way out? TEDDI would want Todrick sent to the Shadow Realm. And she would want her friends to not flop their first chance at power in 4 weeks as well. Also, how did Todrick get away with fighting TEDDI, but still have so much loyalty from these two? Say what you want, but gay privilege is real this season, and Todrick has had that in spades on top of being a clear Apex production pet. That's another thing people don't want to discuss, but I told y'all patrons, the exploit is real. I told y'all. So when I see Todrick weaponizing race and sexuality while being very anti-black and targeting the only other gay player, I can't take the guy seriously when he virtue signals. And then when you add the context of how he claims white players can't say this game is unfair, when he is clearly being provided unfair help based on his own mistakes always being conveniently forgotten about, it clearly creates a wave of inevitable strategic karma that I can't suspend my disbelief enough to believe he is good enough of a player to avoid without production's help. And that's a big problem in your edit. You're making this guy seem better than he really is. Really, there's a lot of bad play around him that makes him seem good. It's like Derek Levasseur in BB16, surrounded by idiots, so you gotta look like a genius. But if you're surrounded by real geniuses, are you one? That's my point. You build this entire cast around him so he can shine, and then you act like every little thing he does is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar breaking the scoring record. You know, it's like, bro, stop it. You know what I'm saying? This is not UCLA Bruin Lou Alcindor. It's not. But that's how they're hyping it up. You see what I'm saying? But I will say he's impressive. I will say that. But once again, capitalizing off someone's ignorance, you have to be a good player to do that. But it really shows me that a lot of this is based on sexuality and race. Because Todrick gets away with it over and over. If he was a straight white man, matter of fact, if he was just white, he wouldn't get away with it at all with Cynthia. Just because he's gay and black, she lets him have 25 lives. But when it comes to Shayna and Chris, she acts as if they have no way of being forgiven for any of their mistakes, even when Shayna's the only reason you and Carson are even in the house this week. She don't use that veto. Chris Kirkpatrick's still here. Carson's gone. And guess what, Cynthia? You're alone. But you're acting as if what Shayna did was no contribution to the team. Are you kidding me? What is your contribution to the team, Cynthia? Come on, man. There's a lot of backseat driving going on in these streets. Now, remember what I told y'all. This game exposes the real you that you hide from the world. Todrick has managed to be two-faced all game, a grifter all game, and a part-time woke all game. I told y'all he was these things before the season. I'm just saying. The alliance he really cared about had 3 white people in it, but now he is pandering to Cynthia, acting like all he ever wanted was a gay man and a black woman in Final 2. This the same guy during week 2 who wanted Cynthia on the block next to MARAI so she would go home. But now, all he ever wanted was a Final 2 with you. And now that Carson is offering this terrible deal to him, now all of a sudden Todrick cares more about gay men protecting each other again. All of this is nails on a chalkboard for me to watch. So even though I'm ranking Todrick first in my power rankings, I want y'all to know that I'm not dumb and that Todd and Cynthia fight happened at too perfect of a moment to help Todrick's game. Then when you add how Todd admitted he was acting for TV, the fight feels scripted to give Carson a reason to not target Todrick before Todd. Think about it. Carson has plenty of reason to nominate Todrick before Todd, though. First reason being, Todd can't win the game. I mean, listen, are you here to win? You play to win the game. Are you here to win? Shout outs to Herm Edwards. Are you here to win or not? If you're here to win, your noms don't make sense. If you're here to not win, they make perfect sense. But why are you wasting our time being on this season then? See, man, I'm not going to get triggered, I promise. But I'm just saying, this would be like Donnie from BB16 targeting Veronica before Cody. It doesn't make sense. It literally feels like production is involved. They have covered up damn near all of Todrick's dirty tracks and tactics and have shown him in only a positive light all season, despite having so much material to bury him with. Second reason why nominating Todd before Todrick is dumb is because Todrick never swayed MIESHA from not throwing up Carson 2 weeks. He never once showed loyalty by actually protecting Carson and Shayna. In fact, he was willing to let Shayna go during week 2 to save MARAI, but this is who Cynthia is going to bat for now? It leaves a bad taste in my mouth because I thought she was learning the game. But it feels like she's regressing in it. Todd ain't with MIESHA 24/7. It's Todrick. If Todd isn't likely to win veto, why even throw him up? I get it. You want to show the world Cynthia is your girl by having her bat with Todd, but the world would understand if you put that on the back burner for a bigger threat. I'm sure even black folks wouldn't mind that because we wouldn't mind another black person staying longer. But my point is, this is just horrible gameplay. This HOH might become the worst in BB history if MIESHA and Todrick survive this week. This week might let KRESSLEY off the hook so much that fans might start to think he's good at the game again. And as fate would have it, fans like KRESSLEY now because he is bashing Todrick outside the game. Have y'all seen some of this stuff? This man came out and said, and I quote, he told me that I'm a horrible father and I'm going to embarrass my child, okay? So you see that tactic. Some of the stuff Kylan used towards Xavier. Now look at this. This is what he said when he was leaving the game. Let me make this a little bit bigger for y'all, right? It reads, and finally Todrick, I think a lot of my thoughts about him changed after I got out of the house. Didn't I tell y'all when he got out he would watch the game being played and he would hate him more? I knew it. This is why I said he was dumb for trying to get Shayna to work with Todrick. While I was in the house, I really felt like he was playing all sides of everybody. I knew that was common, but I couldn't really pinpoint it. And when you can't accuse somebody, you just have to go with their word. I think that he's playing a mean game. He brings other things in that shouldn't be brought into the game. He brought my family into the game. He kept bringing race and sexual orientation, everything into the game that didn't belong there, okay? The proof is in the pudding. Todrick can't win this game, okay? If Chris ain't going to give him a vote, if TEDDI ain't going to give him a vote, Shayna's probably not going to give him a vote. So you already lost 3 votes right there. He needs 5 to win the game. Good luck with that. And even if you have all 4, well, even if you have the other 3 black people voting for you, you're still 3-3, and you still got to fight for those other 3. And the way you mistreat people on their way out, I doubt that happens too. All right? So y'all need to connect the dots here on the character of this man. And Cynthia's out here defending his honor, being his defense attorney, acting like Johnny Cochran out here in these streets. Cynthia, calm down. Let this man hold his own nuts. You're acting like this is your son. Carson, you're acting like this is your child. Huh? Stop child rearing. Stop coddling him. Huh? The guy flipped on you. Thought it was sweet. Him and his little friend MIESHA were in the cut trying to get you both out of the mix. And what do y'all do? Y'all act like everything's all hunky-dory when y'all get some power? What are y'all doing? It really feels like MIESHA and Todrick are the cool kids and everyone's just trying to try out to be at their lunch table. That's what it feels like to me. Because even the people who should say F that lunch table are like, I'll take that seat if it's open. That's y'all. Like, y'all look crazy, bro. Y'all look crazy. I mean, look no further than tonight's episode. The role reversal between Cynthia and Carson's energy from the first minute to the last minute is night and day. Night and day. And all it took was a telephone game of he say, she say. And all of a sudden, I for sure believe those two because 2 of them said it. Well, those 2 can compare notes and say the same thing if they say it to each other and rehearse it before they come to you? Why are you acting like this isn't done in the game? Like, I need y'all to wake up. Huh? Is this the movie Inception? Are you in a dream within a dream? I feel like I'm in a week within a week. I feel like last week never happened because Shayna using the veto has no bearing on y'all loyalty towards her at all. Like, listen, I'm not saying you got to take it a final 3. I'm just saying at least put Todrick and MIESHA up. Okay. Cynthia begins to speak for the group by saying her and Carson got thrown up last week and there was no meeting about it. Why should there have been a meeting, Cynthia? And if you really feel slighted about there being no meeting, why isn't Todrick taking all the blame for this when he's supposed to be your eyes and ears on the other side? Shayna's doing the job Todrick is supposed to be doing for y'all, right? He's the gay black guy who gets all the special treatment. Shayna gives y'all intel. Y'all act like that intel's never good enough. Todrick gives you nothing until he has to when you win power. And you never think, it's really convenient he's giving me this now. Shayna gave you information before it was convenient. And it's as if that has less credibility than what it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It doesn't. Why isn't Todrick taking all the blame for this? The way Cynthia lets Todrick off the hook when he could have warned them they were going up on his own is mind-blowing. Don't complain about how you get treated by Todd if all it takes is for a black man to be gay to mistreat you with impunity. It's that simple. She is losing credibility. Shayna says at one point in time, all 4 of them were aligned as the gays and girls, so why not realign with another final 4 after MIESHA leaves? Great proposition there. Carson agrees to this at first, but Cynthia doesn't say a word. Telling me Cynthia is holding on to that grudge with Shayna so tight, she don't want her making final 4 over LAMAR or Todd. Now, from a pro-black standpoint, I'm not that mad at that, because you have to ask yourself, if Shayna, Todrick, and Carson make final 4, how does Cynthia win the game? She got to hope Todrick takes her. Do you think Todrick beats out Carson and Shayna in final 4? I don't know. Okay? So what you got to understand is, I think she's copping so many pleas for him because I think in her own selfish mind, she's acting like she's not playing the game, but she looks around and goes, I have never won anything. I have no resume. The only way I win is with a bitter jury. I need to become what I hate, and I need to allow Todrick to have his way because I can't beat anyone but him and Todd. And I can't outwardly say I want to work with Todd or go to the end with Todd because I just had a fight with Todd. So she can't break kayfabe by acting like that was acting. So she has to act like her beef with Todd is real. But you notice she sure got over that fight in 24 hours really quick, and all of a sudden she's just only mad at Shayna. All of a sudden her and Todd cool, and they're bashing Shayna together. Now do you see how the fight was a little too convenient for Todrick's game? See, I'm too smart for this production team. See, y'all got to be careful how y'all stage stuff. Because I'm the stage coach. No horses, though. All right? But anyway. So, yes. And see, this brings another flaw in Cynthia's mindset to the front door, to front row. How can she claim she wants more communication, but then go and dismiss Shayna's contribution to her game and giving her the information Todrick refused to give her on MIESHA? Cynthia has snitched on Shayna to Todrick, but Cynthia has never told Shayna anything about Todrick back. Shayna won that veto and lost an ally at a game 2 in her mind, and I don't like how underappreciated she is by this pink room. She was better off never using that shit, letting Carson go, because he didn't flop so hard. I think KIRKPATRICK definitely puts both on the block this week. I think he definitely would have did it. So that's the difference right there. Todrick says, if he wins veto and doesn't take MIESHA down, MIESHA will be done with him. He is already telling them in a subtle way that he will use it because he can't afford to lose MIESHA's jury vote because his jury management has been horrible. Cynthia says MIESHA is going on the block for being an amazing competitor, but Todrick is a good competitor too. Then she says MIESHA is going up for not giving them a courtesy of going up, but once again, Todrick, if he really cared about you, Cynthia, could have done that himself, but he didn't care. Why is MIESHA solely, well, really it's Shayna, being solely blamed for moves that Todrick clearly didn't oppose? What is up with the selective amnesia in this house? Do people not remember what happened a few days ago? Now Todrick has the best of both worlds. He gets away with his actions strictly off the strength of his sexuality. He gets to avoid the block so we don't get to see what player he is under pressure. And he gets offered a Final Four deal for being untrustworthy to boot. If the cookout would have been this dumb during BB23, Frenchie would have won the damn season. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? Listen, this makes me appreciate the cookout a lot more. Watching some of the incompetence on this season. I gotta keep it a bean. Oh yeah, I definitely boycotted BB21, IFD, let him know. Now, I get this move if Todrick was nominated, because then he is forced to abide by the terms and conditions until Monday. But if you leave him off the block, he has no reason to adhere to the deal at all because he already got over on y'all. It's like trying to get a kid to do their chores when you just bought them a new video game. Maybe if you had the kid do the chores to earn the game, they would value having some structure. But there is no structure here because Carson and Cynthia are too scared to show Todrick tough love. They just spoil him all the time, which does what? Blow up his head more to be more of an asshole. Wash, rinse, repeat. I'm breaking this down to a science. About 30 minutes later, Todrick goes to the workout room with MIESHA to discuss what he just learned. He tells her he will make his own decision and doesn't mind lying to all three of them over there. Literally half an hour after Carson and Cynthia offered a Final Four deal, Todrick is saying he wants Carson gone the next week. But this is the guy on Sunday night's episode saying, I'm going to backdoor Shayna. You're a damn fool. You feel it, dig me? Now, Todrick says if he used veto on MIESHA, that group will still be more mad at her than him. The fact that he can say this with so much conviction just further shows how this season was built around sexuality. Then Todrick claims only if MIESHA leaves this week will he take the Final Four deal by targeting LAMAR and TODD with HOH next week. Listen, he won't go for HOH next week if MIESHA's gone. He has no reason to, because the majority of the house will then target Shayna once MIESHA's gone. It's already set up. Why would he want to be the one to take out Shayna? It behooves him 1,000% to let someone else do it. And if he throws the comp, that means LAMAR, TODD, or Cynthia have to beat Shayna for HOH. Now, I think the only way Todrick goes for that HOH is if Shayna is about to win it. I think if she falls out, if it's some type of comp where you see her get eliminated early, I think he throws it. Because that's really the only threat to his game heading into next week. And that's if him and MIESHA don't both survive it because of the choke. But let's continue. Cynthia and Carson already snitched on TODD, agreeing to keep noms the same. But TODD already told MIESHA he would take her off. With 7 people left, if veto is used on MIESHA, it is highly likely that we get a 2-2 vote if LAMAR is next to TODD because Todrick won't be backdoored. But if Shayna gets backdoored, I think the whole house votes 4-0 to keep TODD. Wouldn't that be a slap in the face? For Cynthia to keep TODD over Shayna when he called her all types of names, and all Shayna did was play the game. It would only further hurt Cynthia's legacy, honestly. Because if that fight was bad enough to get TODD thrown up, but it wasn't bad enough for him to go home, then Todrick's ass should have gone up over TODD to begin with. Either the fight was fake or it was real. If it was real, send him home. If it was fake, why is he on the block? This week is sure to expose something. MIESHA and Todrick then devise a plan to convince Carson why Shayna is a bigger threat than MIESHA by saying she has won just as many comps. So she is just as much of a threat. Todrick thinks CNC are willing to drag Shayna to the end because she is more beatable than him. But that couldn't be more further from the truth, and later on the rant, I will explain that why. When Todrick says he will mention how if Shayna reaches Final 3, she will split them up, well, then Todrick says he will mention how if Shayna reaches Final 3, she will split them up, but anyone would split them up in Final 3 because they are a duo. So Todrick wants to use how bad Cynthia is in comps to manipulate her into targeting Shayna out of fear. He wants Cynthia to take him to Final 3 over Shayna because Cynthia will trust in Todrick cutting Carson. But the truth is, everyone cuts Carson in Final 3. So really it comes down to who you think you can beat. While this is happening, TODD and LAMAR agree if MIESHA wins veto, all hell will break loose in this house. TODD clearly wants Shayna to get taken out, and LAMAR clearly wants noms to stay the same. It will be very interesting to see if LAMAR tries to win this veto, considering how bad he wants MIESHA gone before Final 6. I doubt he tries to win it, though. LAMAR is so crazy, he believes the vote will be 5-0 to send MIESHA home if noms stay the same, but there are only 4 votes available this week. This does tell me that everyone expects Todrick to vote out MIESHA on Monday night, though, if noms are the same. MIESHA likes the fact that Todrick is prepared to break his word to the other three. Todrick then uses semantics gymnastics to say the deal is hard to make, so he is only willing to abide by it if there is no added stipulations. But then he tries to add a stipulation himself. So clearly Todrick is lying to MIESHA, acting like he already set the terms, but he didn't. Todrick knows he is only being recruited by the other side because they will need him to take out Shayna, especially since Carson can't compete in the next HOH. MIESHA asks if Todrick thinks Carson would break his word, and Todrick is so sure Carson would never do it. Where does all this confidence come from? If I were bashing someone in the DR as much as Todrick has been rumored to have been doing all season, I would be way more paranoid about Carson finding out about that through production's questioning. Isn't that interesting? How production's leading questions can tip off Todrick a little bit to how Chris and Shayna are, but it never tips off Carson to how Todrick is. Do you see how convenient that is? But let's continue. His composure tells me he knows production to some extent has his back because they did with Chris. MIESHA says she will be sure to agree to the terms as long as she is thrown up initially. Todrick tells her she will be thrown up next to Todd. Todrick hopes for his game that MIESHA just wins veto so he doesn't have to expose his loyalty. Todrick then asks who MIESHA prefers taking out next week between Carson and Shayna, but feeds cut for almost an hour after that. Now around 10:30 a.m., Cynthia, Shayna, and Todrick discuss all the mistakes Chris made. This was the beginning of the fight. Here we go. All right, get yourself a cold beverage, y'all. It's going down. All right, let's get ready to rumble. All right, Bruce Buffer, all that hot stuff. Now, or is that Michael Buffer? My bad. Todrick says that Chris tried so hard to change the narrative about his game to get a noble edit. Now, this was true. Cynthia says Chris wasn't good at the game, but later in the day, Cynthia will prove she isn't good at it either. Shayna is trying to give Chris some benefit of the doubt, but Cynthia keeps shitting on him. What you gotta understand, y'all, is that Chris symbolizes Shayna's game. Okay? The reason why Todrick brought up Chris to bash in front of MIESHA, he wanted him and MIESHA to be in a situation where they could fight with Shayna 2v1. Shayna didn't engage. Then Cynthia comes in the kitchen. She takes the bait immediately to just start bashing Chris. Like, literally, whatever Todrick wants, Todrick gets. I'm just trying to tell y'all what it is, right? And what you got to understand is Cynthia has excelled at sneak dissing Shayna around Shayna. So Saturday was really the first time they really clashed, okay? But understand the reason why they clashed is because Shayna, she peeped game on what Cynthia was doing. Cynthia didn't have the heart to bash Shayna to her face, so she bashes Chris vicariously to bash Shayna because that was her +1, okay? So you got to understand the psychological warfare being played here early, okay? It's important because I don't believe this episode did a good job of explaining this. So for Cynthia to go this wild over the game Chris played, but she doesn't keep any of this energy for Todrick is laughable. Everything Chris did, Todrick did. But at least Chris targeted who he wanted, not who MIESHA wanted. You could tell Cynthia is gassed about Carson winning HOH. Her energy is different. And it's rare you see HOH-itis from someone that isn't even the HOH. And what's worse is that Todrick got a meeting with Cynthia after they both ganged up on Chris to Shayna, which told me Todrick was gaslighting Cynthia's emotions beforehand with that conversation strategically before throwing Shayna under the bus to create a parallel between her and Chris. Great gameplay, but once again, he is benefiting from other players being bad at the game. Cynthia then says Chris she says something like Chris needs to shut up and stop bringing her name up or something like that. But at the end of the day, her snitching to Todrick played a role in Chris's game being ruined. Constructively speaking, Chris has the right to believe Cynthia screwed his game. But Cynthia also has the same right not to trust him back. So I'm being fair there. My problem is this right always disappears when Todrick is in the equation. Cynthia claims nobody told Chris to align with MIESHA, but the same can be said for Toddler. Huh? Why do all these white folks get all this smoke, but Todrick gets away with murder every time? Why is that? Cynthia and Todrick go into the bathroom to talk game. Todrick says he is stressed. He claims this week will test his moral and ethic code by not using the veto on MIESHA. He clearly is approaching Cynthia first alone because he knows she is easier to manipulate. Pay attention. Then Todrick tries to imply because he hasn't been on TV for 11 years, hasn't been in the NBA, and hasn't married anyone famous, he somehow deserves more reassurance, aka more special treatment to abide by this deal. That new reassurance being he wants to know for certain that he gets to make final three before Shayna does. He then says everything she is and stands for is as much of a snake as Chris. So he already is showing us why he was so thirsty to discuss Chris in the kitchen. It was all an icebreaker to get Cynthia emotional, so when he connects the dots on Shayna, she looks at things exactly how he wants her to. By the way, shout outs to, okay, I already mentioned that. Now, Todrick threw Shayna under the bus for calling Carson the biggest threat in the game. He mentions how Shayna kept throwing Cynthia and Carson under the bus, and he will be damned if he flips on MIESHA to work with Shayna again. As if Todrick is this amazing ally to have, as if he has been loyal to anyone but MIESHA all season. Cynthia is eating all of this up as if she already knew it. Or as if she didn't already know it, I mean. None of this information even matters because Shayna used veto on Carson to prove she values him more than Chris. So why did Todrick choose now to want the smoke with Shayna? By the way, salute to you, Keith, for the super chat. I appreciate you, sir. It's because he didn't want Chris and Shayna exposing him together because he's a coward. He jumps others and then calls his parents after school, "Can you pick me up? I have a sprained ankle," when it's his time to get jumped on the walk home. That's who Todrick is. Total coward. Willing to bully, but then plays the victim. Virtue signals when it's convenient. That's his game. You can never give him the same energy he gives you back because he can always fall back on, "My sexuality makes me weaker than you. Stop." But in that diary room, he could be as heavy-handed as he wants to be and act like the Incredible Hulk. He's got players who should be on the opposite side of the game as him, who should want him out, working for his win conditions. I can't, man. Listen, man. I'm glad this season's only 3 weeks after witnessing this weekend. Listen, I got to tell y'all what it is. Cynthia and Carson would be his parents in this equation. Parents think their kids can do no wrong, and Cynthia being black and Carson being gay creates a huge blind spot in their ability to see through Todrick. Creates a huge blind spot. Todrick then takes a personal shot at Shayna by saying she plays this game how she navigates through real life. This is really rich coming from him. By using people. Didn't he use the cookout to get on this season? Interesting. This is very rich because he plays like he is in real life too, with all the off-code behavior and lack of accountability. Not to mention the narcissism and the jealousy of others. Shortly after, Todrick threw Shayna under the bus for calling Carson the biggest threat. He admits he did the same thing, but only because MIESHA said it first. Now, if you notice, Todrick specifically said to Cynthia that Shayna said he's the biggest threat. But when Cynthia regurgitates that talking point, she says, "Todrick said you wanted Carson thrown up." That's not what Todrick told her. So Cynthia is spinning the story because she wants a fight with Shayna. See, oh man. It's hard for me to see someone get ganged up on. It really is. And later in this rant, I'm going to break down how Shayna won the fight somehow. Literally, it's 4 versus 1, and she's going Queen Latifah equalizer on y'all ass. I'm like, damn! And they tried their best to win. They tried. They tried to get her to cry. Honestly, if I'm keeping it real with y'all, Carson, Cynthia, Todrick, MIESHA, TODD, they're giving me friendship vibes from BB19. That's how repulsive they are. "Oh, you're a better game player than me. All right, I'm going to do a whole bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with game towards you. I'm going to bring up a whole bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with game to bash you. Anything to get even because I feel like I can't outplay you." Woo. Now, shortly after Todrick threw Shayna under the bus for calling Carson the biggest threat, he admits he did the same thing, but only because MIESHA said it first. So every bad decision is on MIESHA, but every good decision is all Todrick, huh? But if he admitted that MIESHA convinced him Carson was the biggest threat, he is also admitting he fought so hard to beat Shayna in that veto to hurt Cynthia's game. Why doesn't Cynthia see this? See, she'll hold on to the tidbits she wants to listen to, but then the tidbits she don't want to hear, I'm deaf. Huh? I'm legally deaf. It's insane, y'all. Why isn't she connecting these dots? If Todrick was white, she'd connect them super quick, and that's what's pissing me off as a fan. I always stress being on code, but being blindly on code is poor gameplay. It's almost as if Cynthia doesn't want to win how she is playing. Todrick then says he wants Cynthia with him in Final 2, but he doesn't like what Shayna stands for in this game. What do you stand for in this game, bruh? Please separate yourself from her, because I don't really see the difference. But Shayna at least owns it. Shayna don't got a whole bunch of people built in the cast to help her, like you do. And she's still playing better than you. And you still got to play dirty to expose her game. Listen. Okay. Okay. Shayna represents pivoting prowess and playing the game. These are the same things Todrick represents, but do you see how when someone not named him is doing it, it's always a bad thing? Seeing him bash Shayna for what he does all the time is the pot calling the kettle black of the highest order. Todrick then says he has never lied in this game. What? They let him get that off too. Yo. Then he brings up how Shayna uses his finances against him and how that is dirty. But he used TEDDI's finances against her and thought that shit was sweet. The way Cynthia doesn't mention any of this has me lost for words, because ain't she supposed to be TEDDI's friend? Until it's time to blame someone non-black for what happened to TEDDI, then she's TEDDI's friend. Todrick claims Cynthia will leave this house and see he never lied to her. He is just creating more of a bitter jury for himself if he takes MIESHA off the block, because that would mean he lied to 3 people just to save MIESHA. Will Cynthia and Carson hold him accountable if he does that? Or will they blame Shayna for that too? I can see it now. Todrick takes off MIESHA with the power of veto, Shayna gets backdoored, and then Carson and Cynthia on Monday's episode try to justify it as, well, as long as a white woman left, it was good for our game. Shut up! You choked. Ain't no way around it. You choked. Todrick claims Cynthia will leave this house and say he never lied to her. He is just creating more of a bitter jury for himself if he takes MIESHA off the block, because that would mean he lied to 3 people just to save MIESHA. Will Carson and Cynthia hold him accountable for this? Cynthia tells Todrick he is against the clock, and the best thing to do is tell the same thing to Carson. So she doesn't provide any critique, she just goes with it, believing everything. And she promises to convince Carson to have an open mind as well. So really, Cynthia was manipulated to help Todrick make excuses for why he betrayed Cynthia. Think about that. She is working to convince Carson why it's okay that this guy betrayed us, but not her. Then Cynthia includes LAMAR in the conversation just to ask if he thinks Shayna is trustworthy. So now Cynthia is campaigning to paint a target on the woman who saved the HOH a day prior. Shayna made every fan of Cynthia and Carson happy by using that veto, only for those two to question her more after she kept them in the game, and for them to lose the same fans that are now rooting for Shayna. It's insane. Understand, Shayna is now being projected as a favorite for America's favorite player because y'all fumbled the Mon-Wan. Understand, Carson and Cynthia were running away with it. And they decide, hey, I'd rather flop and not get that prize. It's insane. It's insane. LAMAR says he will keep it a buck, but then takes a long break before answering. LAMAR then says, flip it, before feeds cut super fast. LAMAR brings up how weird it is that Shayna has a picture of Chris and his family on her dresser, and how that bugs him out by how weird it is, and that's all he really had to chime in on with it. So you notice, he's not talking about gameplay, but he's creating the argument she doesn't have integrity if she kept a picture of her friend and his family. He thinks it reflects poorly on Shayna's integrity to keep a picture of another man's family, especially when she has a man at home. But if anyone knows what's going on, TEDDI has already exposed that Shayna's boyfriend back home ain't shit. I highly doubt they will be together after this season. So at the end of the day, she doesn't really have a man back home. Okay, so we can scrap that, but at the end of the day, why does it matter who she's with back home? What does anything that had to do with her game in the house? This is nitpicking. And see, I saw white players the last 20 years do this to black people on their own in the game, and I ain't like it then. So I'm a total hypocrite if I act like this is cool now. The Cookout 1 BB23 is supposed to be a new era. All this bullying is unnecessary. Your game should be good enough to send people to the shadow realm without these type of tactics. These are the tactics of cowards. These are the tactics of people who fear their opponent. And y'all fear Shayna something serious after that veto win. I told y'all that veto win was the equivalent to Carson winning week 1's veto. They're shook. None of them, they couldn't stack up 10 pieces. She got to 24 on them. She went Kiefer Sutherland on y'all. What y'all talking about? All right? I'm just keeping it a bean. She got these people shook. And that's why they had to form like Voltron to try to jump her. And then Shorty came out swinging. And she out here sleeping all of y'all. Like Rumble in the Bronx Jackie Chan. I'm like, Shayna, let's get it cracking. You feel it, dig me? I'm just keeping it real. So now you all see. So you have Todrick with the personal shots. Eventually, Cynthia would engage in the personal shots. LAMAR gets baited into giving personal shots by Todrick and Cynthia. MIESHA gets involved later in personal shots. I'll get there. Okay? This is what people have to do when you're the better player than them. Now, both then ask LAMAR whose side Shayna was on all game, and LAMAR says Carson. Now, this clearly pissed off Todrick because this didn't go parallel with his agenda in trying to paint her as someone who was always with MIESHA. Understand, LAMAR is with MIESHA. So for LAMAR to say he feels like Shayna was always with the pink room kind of makes Todrick look like a liar there. So then Todrick tries to convince LAMAR of why she had to have always been with MIESHA. It's like, bro, you asked him a question, he gave his answer, shut up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you don't conform to my agenda, I'm going to keep talking to you until you agree with it. That's his game. Now, LAMAR didn't give Cynthia or Todrick what they wanted, and that's why they proceeded to try to convince him that he was wrong. It's a witch hunt. Todrick is scared of Shayna because he can't beat her at anything. LAMAR, well, except maybe an endurance wall comp, but we won't see that again. So, and I think Shayna threw it, by the way. I think she threw it. LAMAR then mentioned how mad MIESHA is with Shayna. Todrick uses this moment to explain Shayna must have played both sides then, but Todrick and LAMAR are playing both sides right now with Cynthia. So why is Shayna once again the scapegoat for what everyone is doing? Cynthia then says, now it all makes sense, but she hasn't trusted Shayna for 9 days. LAMAR mentions how both of them are becoming grimy players, which was the truth. See, LAMAR is even seeing Cynthia being dragged into the mud by Todrick. He sees it. She's being recruited to the dark side of the Force. Todrick is a Sith Lord, Cynthia. He's a Sith Lord, not a Synth Lord, a Sith Lord. He's recruiting you to get in that dirt because right now your reputation and resume is a little too spotless, too clean. But now you're getting involved and you're fighting with all of these people. You're slinging mud left and right. You're trying to get even because you're emotional. None of this is good for your win condition, Cynthia. You were sitting so good until you got involved in this. You were sitting so good until you got involved in this. I mean, even during tonight's episode, they try to make it seem like Cynthia for the first time found out Shayna was playing both sides like right now. Same with Carson. They been knew this. They been knew it. They been knew it. And they still wanted Shayna to win over Todrick, even when they knew it from week 2. So this should tell y'all there's an agenda here in this edit. Now, Cynthia then mentions how Shayna was willing to let Carson fall on his sword and she didn't do anything. What is she talking about? Let me give you all a rewind of what happened. Carson basically said, if I win veto, I'm going to use it on Cynthia because I want you to stay in this game more than myself. I'm going to keep being targeted. I want you to have a chance to win. Cynthia said, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to take yourself off. And Cynthia's creating an argument because Shayna didn't step up and say, no, Carson. Use it on yourself. That somehow means she didn't want Carson in the game. That somehow justifies what Todrick told her about Shayna wanting to target Carson. The fact that she allowed him to finish his sentence, which is very rich. because that's the one thing Cynthia didn't allow Shayna to do. She didn't allow her to finish a single sentence on Saturday. I'm going to get there, don't worry. Oh, this is going to be a dissection, coach, all right? Get your mortar and pestle out. You feel it, dig me? So, yes. So he's creating an argument here. Well, she is creating an argument here that Shayna was willing to let Carson fall on his sword because she wanted Carson to go. If she really wanted Carson to go, she keeps noms the same with the damn veto. I mean, use your brain, Cynthia. But Shayna literally kept Carson from falling on his sword by winning a comp and stood up for Carson in the process. Did last week not happen? Was it a figment of my imagination? The truth is, Cynthia been mad at Shayna all game, well, since week 1, and now Carson gets some power, so she wants to make this week about her. Carson was the target last week. He should be dictating this week, not Todrick vicariously through Cynthia. Around 10:41, LAMAR leaves the bathroom. Todrick and Cynthia finish up their conversation. While this is happening, Shayna gets up from meditation to go up to the HOH room to get Carson to see that Todrick is working Cynthia something serious. They were in there for damn near an hour in that bathroom. Shayna is so good, she already understood. Todrick brought up Chris just a segue to bashing Shayna along with Cynthia. Shayna explained she didn't engage in the conversation until after MIESHA left the kitchen because it would have been another 2 versus 1 debate. But by the time she did join the conversation, it became 2 versus 1 anyway because Cynthia took Todrick's side immediately. Shayna wants Carson to see that MIESHA and Todrick bullied Chris into targeting Carson, but Chris didn't budge because he wanted MARAI gone so bad. She also makes it a point of emphasis to bring up that the beef between Todrick and Chris started because he wanted MARAI out more than Cynthia or Carson. This is Shayna being forced now to jump in front of Todrick's gameplay by trying to put respect on Kirkpatrick's name in the hopes that Carson will respect her by proxy. Pay attention. Shayna knows Cynthia has a soft spot for Todrick, but Shayna brought up facts. How Todrick was the one who blamed Cynthia for why he flipped on the Gays and Girls Alliance and the formation. True. Funny how Carson and Cynthia forgot about that. Carson says they need to have this conversation with Cynthia present, but Cynthia is too consumed with emotions to even hear Shayna out. Shayna then mentions how Todrick had no problem putting Cynthia up, which is also true from week 2, when Chris was HOH. Remember how I even brought up how fake Todrick was for caring about the only Asian woman in the game, but not the only black woman in the game? Now all of a sudden you want to be in Final 2 with the only black woman in the game? The details of my previous rants are designed to fact-check people later in the season when they say something like that. Todrick is spewing some truth, but a lot of lies to Cynthia about his own game. Shayna is telling nothing but the truth, and she is on the defensive, making it more impressive. The only problem Shayna has is that she isn't gay or black. Then she would be believed here. I hate to say it that way, but it's the truth, y'all. We gotta smell the roses. Nobody else has the courage to say what needs to be said on the internet besides me, so let me say it. I'm not saying Shayna doesn't deserve some strategic karma for flipping earlier in the game, but damn. If someone flips back, they should at least be trusted more than someone who never flipped back at all. This is preposterous. Shayna then mentions how not putting up both Todrick and MIESHA runs the risk of them both being in the game next week. Great point. I get why Carson doesn't want to throw up Todrick outside of obvious reasons, but that will never make Carson less of a threat for Todrick than Shayna. Shayna is at least more disliked than Carson. If Carson thinks Todrick would take Shayna out before him, he is high. I still don't believe he will. Especially since everyone knows Cynthia doesn't like Shayna. Shayna stands up for Chris like a true friend. Carson says he wants Shayna to get Cynthia to take Chris out of the equation, but by now it's too late for all of that. And at the end of the day, why did Todrick wait until now to be open to going to Final 3 with Cynthia and Carson? Why didn't Todrick discuss this before he was no longer in a power position? At least Shayna kept up appearances when she didn't have to. It's not just about the actions. It's not just about the actions of the individual, ladies and gentlemen. It's about the actions of the individual when they don't have to be forthcoming with information. That's someone you trust more. Shayna was forthcoming when she didn't have to be. She used the veto when she didn't have to use it. KRESSLEY would have always been targeted before her because Todrick had it out for her. Well, had it out for him. She could have let things ride out the way they were. And honestly, she probably regrets not letting them ride out the way they were because Cynthia's ungrateful. It is what it is. You know, Cynthia's acting like it's her HOH, but none of this is possible without Shayna, and she uses this power to shit on Shayna? Like, what? Okay. So, yes. Shayna knows she is right. She knows Todrick is doing all of this now because he knows how to pander to Cynthia's emotions. Black women, y'all gotta stop falling for the okie doke out here, man. There's a lot of people that just pander and placate to y'all, never have y'all best interests. And y'all wanna believe they do, but they rarely do, y'all. This is a sad state of affairs, and for Tiffany to defend Todrick at all times when he's been bashing the black woman at all times, it once again shows y'all that Tiffogeny stuff was a hoax. But once again, let's continue. Carson claims he is trying to give Todrick every opportunity to succeed, but why? Just because he isn't straight? Well, shouldn't you take more offense to him choosing MIESHA over you then, Carson? There was no sensible decision making going on this week. It's just vibes. Carson says around 11 a.m. that they will discuss this again, and Shayna reminds him that Todrick tried to get him out, not once, but twice as she walks out. Carson then admits Todrick has supported MIESHA more than him in this game. Carson begins to give me hope, false hope, that he isn't as gullible as Cynthia is by at least admitting how shady and sneaky it was of Todrick to pull Cynthia in for that one-on-one after all four players agreed to the deal. He then says, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So now Carson is a bit irritated that the second life he offered to Todrick is being taken for granted, and Todrick is still overplaying his hand. So he says he wants Todrick to do well. Shayna says Cynthia is so kind and she doesn't want him to take advantage of that before she leaves. While Carson plays asleep, Shayna notices MIESHA getting out of the diary room and heads right to the bathroom. This tells her that they are doing a 2 versus 1 brainwashing of Cynthia, but by now, Cynthia is already drunk off the Kool-Aid. Todrick has zero leverage in this deal, but he is so entitled and coddled in the house that Cynthia acquiesces to whatever wish he demands, even though she should be making demands of him because he owes that to her, not the other way around. And for Cynthia to bash Shayna and Chris, but then kiss MIESHA's ass during the same conversation disgusted me even more. Now all of a sudden Cynthia says, I don't have to work with you to respect you. But you're holding a grudge with all these other people for not working with you. Interesting. Then Todrick takes another shot at Shayna by saying she is only a celebrity for marrying celebrities. What their hard work. Todrick, you were an alternate guy. What do you mean you got here based off your hard work, bruh? All that hard work, all that buck dancing that you've been up to your whole career, you still needed the cookout to be in your house to get on this cast, and even then you were still an alternate. What are you talking about, bro? The average person didn't even know you were a celebrity until you were on the cast, bruv. You're the last person who should be criticizing someone's credentials as a celebrity. Because I know way more people who know about Shayna MOAKLER that will ever know about you, bro. And that's some real talk. That's not me hating. But this is the guy who goes at TEDDI because he's jealous of her family. So TEDDI being a real celebrity, we take away from her because she was born with money. But then Shayna, who actually got it out of the mud and somehow worked her way into being a celeb, you don't respect her? Interesting. Now he has implemented the same TEDDI strategy towards Shayna, and Cynthia is just letting it fly just because she's mad at Shayna for turning on TEDDI. But if TEDDI really matters so much, surely you would stop Todrick from using this same tactic. Cynthia is becoming what she hated during week 1 just to get some revenge, and what's worse is she is hurting her game in the pursuit of it. He then brings up how she walks around here halfway naked. That's rich from a grown-ass man wearing skirts on live feeds, but I digress. What does any of this have to do with their game, though? Nothing. This is body shaming. And LAMAR already partook in slut shaming her an hour before this. If you can't paint a target on someone by talking strictly game, you aren't a good enough player to get the job done. I hated when white players did this to black folks over the last 20 years, so I'm not going to be fake about it now. These are the same bullying tactics Shayna told Carson the Wonder Twins did to get their way before. When they smell weakness, they just keep drilling their points home, and Cynthia is giving out weak link vibes all on Saturday. It's like she has totally forgot her beef with Todd from a day ago and is only mad now at Shayna, which further tells me production saying her allowing LAMAR to call her strawberry shortcake is too flirtatious for a woman with a man back home to further explain why Shayna should go before her. Wait a minute. This is coming from a woman who wants you to call her cupcake. What is going on, y'all? What is going on? What is going on? Hey, you can call me cupcake, but if you call her strawberry shortcake, that's a little bit too imposing. You're going a little too far there. Just call her shortcake. Why does it matter if you add a fruit to the prefix? Like, none of this. Oh, man. When people got a nitpick, they gon' nit the game too. And this is all done to create the narrative that Shayna will do whatever it takes to win because she will flirt with anyone and flip on anyone. But why weren't all of these traits deal breakers for Todrick and MIESHA during week 1? Why were they willing to work with her at all if she isn't a worthy celebrity? Isn't that funny? How now all of a sudden that she's not working with you, now she's not worthy of this game because she's half naked. Because she has a man back home. All this stuff doesn't even add up, bro. And if these things are true now, they were true before, but you didn't mind them before. Oh, man. All of this is whack. And if there was one more black woman on this season, I don't think she would allow Cynthia to look this incompetent. And for MIESHA, of all people, to take shots at Shayna for being flirtatious is a joke ting. This woman knew Chris had a crush on her, but she never told him he couldn't flirt with her because she had a man. In fact, she used this dynamic to her advantage to try to get Chris to take out Cynthia or Carson. MIESHA did the same thing she's accusing Shayna of. It just didn't work because Shayna was there to snap Chris out of her genjutsu. But for her to allow that man to risk it all for her, enough to where he wanted to take Todrick out to have her to himself, just tells me she was also dirty Mac in week 1 before them feeds came on, and she is also full of crap. So keep that same energy with yourself when you look in the mirror, Cupcake. Huh? It ain't just Shortcake's problem, it's your problem too. Now, Todrick reiterates his stipulation for that Final 4 is contingent on Shayna not making Final 3. Cynthia says she will go tell Carson. Before she can grab him, Carson meets them in the bathroom. Then MIESHA decides for now to finally be the moment where she tells Cynthia about her childhood. First of all, why didn't MIESHA tell Cynthia about her childhood before she was going on the block? See the bullshit here? Now all of a sudden, oh, I want you to know my life story now. I want you to realize I got it out the mud just like you, girl. Even though I was after you, girl. Feminism. Even though MIESHA has made every woman in that house feel uncomfortable from day 1. Even though she made the first woman to leave the game a strong woman, she's trying to create the narrative she was raised by strong women so she can respect Cynthia. And this works on Cynthia somehow. But whatever Shayna says somehow, nope, won't work on me this time. I see it. I'm smart. I'm not going. But MIESHA, with wise counsel from Todrick, man, I was wrong about you. I respect everything you are about. If you were to make the N and win, I would not mind that. When it comes to Shayna, oh, you're so good at this game. You've been playing all sides. You think you're so good. Everything isn't about you, Shayna, says the woman who makes Carson's HOH week about her. Y'all can't say I'm lying here. This is a dissection, I told y'all now. All right? Now y'all know why this is called a deep dive. We're diving deep here. You feel it, Demi? Now, so like I said, why didn't she tell her this story before she was going on the block? Because she don't rock with you, Cynthia. Wake up. Then MIESHA tries to play the feminist card by saying her mom raised her to be a strong woman to placate to Cynthia and to justify her bad social game. But if she truly valued strong women, she wouldn't have targeted TEDDI. She would have offered her a deal on week 1. Didn't give her nothing, huh? She said, F all that strong woman stuff, you competition. One less woman in the house on day 1. I'm still going to take a woman out. But then week 4, I'm a feminist? The grift is real. She learned it from Todrick. Let's talk about it. Oh, yeah. We're coming through with the punchlines tonight. Now, Carson then walks in and Todrick gives him the same rundown on Shayna he gave Cynthia. The problem I have with this is Cynthia already legitimized Todrick's words before he ever spoke, and that naturally skews Carson to believe none of what is being said are lies. Cynthia failed Carson by not doing that chat with Carson the first time. This should also tell Carson that Todrick values Cynthia more than him. But none of this was mentioned during tonight's episode in any confessional. I mean, a lot of time during this episode was wasted on that endurance comp. Y'all could have got that done in the first 10 minutes. No one cares that much. I'm being honest. F all the suspense. I'm just being honest, man. Y'all could have added more context here. But anyway. So honestly, Carson should be pivoting to take Shayna's side here because she is the perfect shield for him. But Carson has to do these mental gymnastics of supporting Cynthia through everything because of what Todd just did. And that handcuffs him from the ability to see this clearly for what it is, an ambush. Cynthia has confirmation bias that makes her incapable of depositing this information and comparing notes before making a decision on who is right. Carson has an obligation to support her confirmation bias, and Todrick has the game savvy and awareness to notice this and exploit it. If Shayna playing a veto on Carson has MIESHA telling Cynthia her life story, and Todrick is asking for added stipulations to go to Final Four after already making a deal during the endurance comp, it's probably because both didn't want Carson off that block. So I don't even understand how both of them are even heard here. Then MIESHA says she respects them both so much, and she put them on the block to give them both a fighting chance. As Chris Carter once said, come on, man. You know what I mean? Come on, man. It's only right on Super Bowl Sunday I say, come on, man. You know what I mean? If that's the case, she should have no beef with Shayna for using the veto to give both a chance at making this week. Do y'all see how bad of a player you have to be to overlook this context? MIESHA even said if Shayna wins this game, she will burn down the house. How did saving Carson make MIESHA hate Shayna this much if she likes Carson so much? Cynthia, where is the game intellect? How do you not connect the dots? MIESHA is mad at Shayna because Shayna saved Carson. How do you not see that? Why do you assume, no, she mad at you because you flipped back? It ain't just that. It's that she flipped and saved Carson. If she would have flipped, not used veto, Carson's gone, Chris is still there, MIESHA's not this mad. In fact, MIESHA probably is happy. I think she probably still goes after Shayna or Chris next. But still, though, that doesn't matter. You know, Shayna made herself into a target to give y'all two a chance to make this season worth it. And y'all have decided, nah, we like the predictability and the monotonous and how boring the first 3 weeks were, coach. Let's make week 4 boring too. I need Carson and Cynthia to ask the right questions and stop flopping here. Cynthia then jumps in front of the elephant in the room by saying, Todrick didn't tell me all this until now because he knew I would want to protect Carson. What? That don't make sense either. Wait, let me repeat that. Cynthia then jumps in front of the elephant in the room by saying, Todrick didn't tell her all of this until now because he knew she wanted to protect Carson. Do you see how when Cynthia tries to chime in and make sense out of Todrick and MIESHA's lies, it makes it even worse because she doesn't understand the game? So when she says stuff, it logically sounds like a fragment of a sentence. Because it's like, if he really wanted to protect Carson, he would have told y'all ahead of time what was happening so y'all could have possibly brokered a deal with MIESHA before you got thrown up. Isn't that what Shayna won the veto tried to do with MIESHA? He didn't want y'all to know y'all was both going up. He wanted y'all to be rattled so y'all wouldn't win the veto. Come on, man. You got to use your brains. So Todrick doesn't say this when y'all both were on the block, and that's not a red flag. Where's the Cynthia from week 2? If you really pay attention, Carson wasn't buying this story. Cynthia had to step in and be the Wonder Twins defense attorney to explain their thoughts to Carson better to force him into believing it. I think Cynthia failed Carson enormously this week by not giving him the peace of mind to play his own week, his own HOH. She is making this about herself when the optimal play was to stay out of the way because Cynthia has the most allies left in the game outside of Todrick. It behooves her to not get involved in this mudslinging, but she is too much of a recruit to know it. She didn't want to tell Carson all of this herself because she couldn't retain the information. But you would think she was aligned to Todrick and MIESHA all game. I mean, damn, am I watching the Migos? Huh? It felt like Carson being pressed by the Migos. Huh? Hannah Montana, Hannah Montana. I got money, I got weight, I got money, I got weight. You feel it, Demi? It's like at every turn, MIESHA and Todrick say something. Here comes Cynthia with an ad lib. Bang, bang. Yeah, yeah. It's like, what the heck is this? It felt like I was watching Fredro Starr next to Busta Rhymes. You feel it, Demi? Like I'm keeping it real in these streets. It was like she was a hype man for them. She wouldn't let them just hold their own because she could see Carson wouldn't believe in it just when they were saying it. She had to stand up, touch Carson. You know what I mean? Going out of her way to make sure they are believed. But then when Shayna wants to talk to Cynthia alone, she says, only with Carson will I talk to you. But she sure talked to Todrick for damn near an hour alone. Then she talks with MIESHA, Todrick, and Carson for another 20 minutes. But then, when it comes to Shayna, you can't even give her a one-on-one. She already made up her mind. Who was right? How do you win a fight when the officiating ain't fair? Todrick keeps saying, when you get out of this house, to try to convince people he is telling them the truth in the present. If anything, he has to keep saying, if anyone has to keep saying that, though, they are lying. If you're a true fan of this game, you know people who are habitual liars are the ones to say, when you get out of this house, when you get out of this house, listen, you ain't got to say that if you've been trustworthy all game. I'm going to believe you. The fact that you got to say that is because you are a snake. You feel it? You're a parcel tongue coach. You probably got chosen by the sword and hat to go Slytherin. I got to keep it a bean. Now, they would have this four-person chat for almost 30 minutes. Shayna walks in the bathroom on them around 11:30 a.m. First thing I noticed is how fast Cynthia was to ask to use the HOH bathroom when she was already in the bathroom. That's when I knew, oh, Cynthia trying to think of a way to devise a plan on her own to get Shayna to blow up her own game. Because why you running? Why you running? Where you going? Huh? Soon as Shayna walk in the bathroom, can I use your bathroom, bro? All right, bet. Craziness. Boy, she hit it like Ricky should have. You feel it, dig me? I'm keeping it a bean. Cynthia hit it like Ricky should have in The Boys in the Hood. That's how fast she hit it out that bathroom. I don't even think she went to the bathroom. I think she was just stalling. She was just stalling. That told me right there how emotional she still was over that conversation. She couldn't even play it off like she isn't Todrick's puppet. And with Shayna now in the bathroom, nobody knows how to continue the conversation because of the collective cowardice. All they can really do is discuss Lamar and Todd. Carson then goes to the bathroom, so now it's just Shayna and the Wonder Twins in there. Then MIESHA claims she doesn't like the energy in the room, so she will leave, leading to Shayna leaving the room instead so they can keep talking. Carson then whispers he will consider putting up both MIESHA and Todrick if it makes Todrick feel more comfortable. Soon as Shayna leaves the bathroom, all of a sudden, Cynthia's right back in the bathroom. And we noticed during tonight's episode, when Shayna walked out of the bathroom, she saw Cynthia on the steps. She said, hey, can I talk to you upstairs? Cynthia said, I'm not talking to you unless Carson's present. You can't talk to her unless someone else is there? What are you worried? It's going to lead to a physical altercation or something? Give her a one-on-one. She sleeps in the same bedroom as you. Now all of a sudden you can't even give her that. But you'll give MIESHA that. Sure seems like that bathroom break was an excuse. Shayna asked Cynthia if she could speak to her, and she said, not without Carson, but she just spoke to Todrick for almost an hour uninterrupted without Carson. This catty behavior will be the reason Cynthia does not win this game. So now you can't speak to anyone alone and hear their side of the story? Cynthia is doing to Shayna what Todrick did to TEDDI and KRESSLEY. Todrick is pulling her to the dark side. This not only made Cynthia look terrible from an optic standpoint, but her doing it and then announcing what she did to Todrick and MIESHA made it even worse because it's like she's doing it for their approval. It's like, hey guys, am I cool enough now? Ain't you in your 50s? Why are you trying to impress these people? They in their mid-30s. Whew, man. It feels like Todrick and MIESHA are the cool kids at school that everyone fights tooth and nail to be friends with. Which makes them look even worse than KIRKPATRICK did in Power. At least he stood up to them. These two are basically letting them walk all over them. And Carson was just told about the bullying tactics from Shayna, and he got bullied right after. And he never connected those dots and said, oh, Shayna's telling the truth because they just used those same tactics on me and Cynthia. He didn't connect those dots. In fact, in the edit, he made it seem like, oh, I only believe Todrick and MIESHA now because two of them said something. So, in other words, because Shayna doesn't have a whole bunch of people willing to stick up for her, post KRESSLEY leaving, who would have been that person, now all of a sudden she doesn't have any credibility? Okay. Interesting. Now do y'all see why I wanted Shayna to win that HOH more than Carson? Now do y'all see it? It's because I knew she would do what needed to be done for us as fans of this game. I knew it. And I knew Carson had a propensity to be very soft-handed with Todrick. I was seeing it all season, and it was driving me mad. I'm like, yo, what's up with this? Now, MIESHA tells Todrick he will never go home on the block. Todrick says he doesn't want to be on the block because he doesn't want to rely on Todd and LAMAR. I call BS here. At worst, the vote would be a 2-2 tie, and Carson clearly isn't sending Todrick home in a tie. So all these fears he has of touching a block derives from the karma he knows he is due in this game at some point. He don't want a scenario where Shayna is off the block and the Wonder Twins are both nominated, because then he can't sling mud at her the same way. He don't want that power dynamic to shift, because then his game gets exposed. And also, you got to take into account, he's surrounded with 3 other black people and a gay guy. He basically has 4 people that will always take his side versus Shayna. And that's why he throws his weight around, right? If this cast would have been a little bit different, and let's say it had 2 black people on it, still 11 people in the cast, Todrick would be thrown to the wolves by now. The Shadow Realm would await him. But like I told y'all, they built the roster around him. They want him to shine. And that's why the season itself is flopping, because he's not a needle mover, and they're trying their best to make him seem like Dr. Will. And it's not flying, really. Now, Todrick would continue to bash Shayna for having no talent with Todd and LAMAR. Eventually, LAMAR and Todd stepped up to defend her, and kudos to you men by saying it takes talent to win Miss USA. All right? That's true. Now, technically, Shayna won it because the person who actually won it, something happened with her, so Shayna was able to win it as like a runner-up that eventually won it. It was something to it. But that's true, though. Miss USA, those pageant girls, you got to have some skills, man. You got to be able to be a public speaker. You got to be able to sing, dance. There's a lot of stuff involved with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of stuff. I think I've seen a movie. Wasn't Miss Congeniality about that? That's probably the one movie I can say that I've seen that's similar to that, but I don't know if it's the same exact thing. I think it was. But it was like about a cop or something. As this is happening, Shayna is talking to Carson one-on-one in the workout room at noon. All right? Cynthia is laying down in the HOH. Here we go. Shayna is trying to get answers on why Cynthia is mad at her. Salute to Carson here, because he isn't letting Shayna feel alone by filling her in on what's going on, at least up until now. He tells her that MIESHA and Todrick said she plays both sides, but he already knew that. So Shayna points out how she has already admitted that to Carson and Cynthia. First test passed. Carson mentioned the Final Four deal. Shayna filibusters that as well by saying, once again, she was never in a Final Four with them. She brought up how the Final Four never had a name, which exposes how fake it was. If you're a fan of this game, you know an alliance has to have a name for anyone to believe it's real. Like during BB22, didn't they have like a fake alliance with Memphis, Cody and Enzo, that they couldn't think of a name for until like the last second before they turn on? It was something like that. Now, she mentions how if she didn't win that veto, she would have gone up next to Carson, probably if Cynthia came down. Shayna was unleashing the Infinity Stones and kept it classy simultaneously. Shayna then owns her game by saying she had to tell the other side what they wanted to hear to not be targeted, which is also the truth because the minute Chris didn't tell MIESHA what she wanted to hear, she backdoored him to the Shadow Realm. She even brought up how she kept them in tune with everything she was doing the last week, even with the veto. Now I see why Cynthia doesn't want a one-on-one conversation with Shayna. She is too good at explaining her game, and Cynthia doesn't get the game enough to debunk Shayna's perspective, so she dismisses it. If she can't think of another talking point Todrick came up with, she can't even mention anything. And see, that's the thing. Shayna wanted this to be a conversation. Cynthia kept raising her voice. She kept interrupting her. She kept gaslighting her. She wanted to get Shayna in an argumentative fight mood. That way she could say, hey, let's turn this into a house meeting. That way Shayna would get into a fight with MIESHA and Todrick. That's what it was all about. But you got to peep game on this stuff. And I don't think this episode tonight did a good enough job of showcasing the real Cynthia. Because I saw a lot of bad traits in her as a player. Carson eventually hears so much tea, he invites them to the HOH room to tell, he invites Shayna to the HOH room to tell this to Cynthia, and this is where all hell began to break loose. In the HOH, Shayna brought up amazing points about week 1, how Cynthia had Mon Juan, so she was safe, how Carson had the veto, he was safe, how she didn't know who she would be working with coming out of that week to be safe during week 2. A sound game player will understand what she is saying. That's why Carson brought her in the room, because he is a better player than Cynthia, and for Carson to give Shayna his stamp of approval before bringing her in the HOH says a lot. I'd argue it's the same thing Cynthia did with MIESHA and Todrick, right? Carson was trying to offset that by giving Shayna a fair shot. Okay? You got to understand, Carson was at least trying to be a little fair here. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt here, Carson, because in my opinion, you did more than Cynthia did, and that needs to be stated. Now, in theory, Cynthia should pay Shayna the same respect she forced Carson to pay MIESHA and Todrick in that bathroom. But Cynthia does not make this meeting comfortable at all for anyone because she isn't trying to listen to reason. Cynthia then gets argumentative by focusing on whether or not Shayna said Carson has to touch the block or not. The only week Shayna could have said this was last week because week 1 she was aligned to Carson before he got nominated. So that means Shayna would have had to be anti-Carson after she was mad at Chris for not backdooring MIESHA. That doesn't make sense. Because at the time, she was permanently on Carson's side, hence why she used the veto then, but not the week before. Proving Shayna is telling the truth once again. So understand, Cynthia is mad about secondhand knowledge she can't prove from people who wanted Carson gone way more than Shayna, but she is content with letting Shayna take sole blame for wanting Carson out. I wouldn't mind this if her gratitude for Shayna taking Carson off the block matched her anger today. But she failed to give Shayna enough credit for that, and now she is acting like she hasn't done anything for either one of them. Shayna admitted to saying Carson was a threat, but not to wanting him on the block. Cynthia says she knows he's a threat, too, but she would have never admitted it. So now you're the perfect game player who knows when and where to say everything, huh, Cynthia? If that were true, you wouldn't have got involved in this skirmish, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. Well, Cynthia, you aren't that good at the game, and today is proving it, so what you would do is quite irrelevant to what actually happened here. This is like a lifeguard saving the life of a drowning friend, only for you to pick a fight with him because he was an asshole a different day. You should be more thankful that your friend is alive than angry about how much of an asshole the lifeguard was last week. You know what I'm saying? Last summer, right? But Cynthia would rather focus on the asshole aspect of the lifeguard, right? She don't want to focus on the lifeguard that saved a life because that's too positive. She only focuses on the negative of the one she hates. Then Cynthia claims Shayna couldn't have been alone in this game because her and Carson have been protecting Shayna all game. And this is the part I really like during this episode. Shayna even asked in the DR, "When did you protect me, Cynthia? If anything, I've protected you two." I was like, Don DeMarco. You see what I'm saying? Like, whoa, this is projection of the highest order. This is gaslighting of the highest order. This is someone who can't compete with you on a game level, trying to trick you off the streets by making you as emotional of a player as they are. And honestly, this is a spit in the face of Tamar Braxton's legacy. Yeah, I'm going to say it. And look, I'm willing to give Cynthia a little bit of benefit of the doubt. She ain't playing with no other black women. But with that said, the two-face, I don't want to say two-facedness, but her ability to be two-faced and act as if she is on the moral high ground while being two-faced, you can miss me with that. So, yeah, Cynthia claims Shayna couldn't have been alone because her and Carson have been protecting Shayna all game. Who are you protecting besides the gay men in the house, though, Cynthia? Name someone you've protected that ain't moist. I'll wait. Doom, 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 doom. It doesn't exist. The answer don't exist. The answer is in the shadow realm. You feel what I'm saying? Nobody. And even then, you can't win a comp, Cynthia. If anything, Shayna protected y'all. Wake up. Every time Shayna tries to talk, Cynthia interrupts to regurgitate some talking point she remembered from the Wonder Twins. Shayna is trying to talk game to a player who doesn't get the game enough, and it's frustrating for me to watch on the outside looking in. I can only imagine how frustrated Shayna was. I can only imagine. Kudos to Shayna for having some patience here, because Cynthia was going out of her way to try to get Shayna to get angry and make herself into a target over MIESHA. Shayna tells Cynthia that she won that veto because she knew she was going up if one of them did, which was the truth. And then Cynthia says, we all were in the same boat, but y'all weren't. Cynthia would have survived that vote regardless, but Shayna and Carson were the actual targets and threats that week. She can't relate to what they going through. And this is why Carson should have been defending Shayna more. But once again, he's handcuffed because Todd got into the fight with Cynthia. He doesn't want to be portrayed as someone not defending the black woman because they are the least protected. You got to understand, there's so many things going on all at once that make it so Carson can't help but care about Cynthia running as HOH. You got to understand the context, man. And this is coming from a black man. And that's why I got to say it. Because I know a lot of people going to be too scared to tell y'all the truth. A lot of people going to make business decisions and not talk about the elephant in this room. That's why it's important for me to do it. It's important for me to do it. I got to take the hit. So yeah. Shayna tells Cynthia that she won that veto because she knew she was going up if one of them did, which was the truth. And then Cynthia says, we all were in the same boat, but they weren't. For her to downplay the significance of Shayna using the veto on Carson while laying in Carson's HOH bed is sickening. She then gaslights Shayna more by saying, it isn't all about you. Well, if Shayna felt that way, she doesn't use veto 2 weeks in a row, Cynthia. She thinks she is getting the best of Shayna here, but she is just embarrassing the legacy of Tamar during this entire back and forth. Tamar would never, first of all, Tamar would be working with Shayna because she could see a weapon in Shayna, huh? Tamar would be good enough at the game to not rely on Todrick to play on her behalf, huh? Telling you, bruh. I told y'all that was the reason why they didn't put 2 black women on this cast. They wanted Cynthia to crash and burn, and they're getting what they want now because she's voluntarily kamikazing the airplane. And Carson, he's so handcuffed, he got to just let her keep piloting that thing. You know what? Put your seatbelt in. We're finna crash. It is what it is. Ride or die, girl. I'm burning with you. You know, like what? Now, she is setting black women back as serious game players as well here because she is both stubborn and clueless on this. Shayna then asks one question, what did I do? Before saying she took Carson down. This was the checkmate of all checkmates. Shayna has done for Carson in 1 week more than Cynthia has done in 4 weeks, but she is trying to talk down to Shayna like Shayna didn't save the damn season on Friday. You gotta be crazy. People clown Big D for being delusional during BB23, but Cynthia's delusions of Todrick having her back takes the cake. It takes the cupcake, it takes the strawberry shortcake, it takes all the above on that ISET test and ACT. Now, Shayna uses that veto play to get Cynthia to use to see MIESHA viewed saving Carson as an unforgivable offense. Shayna is connecting the dots to show Cynthia that she should have all this energy and smoke for MIESHA, but even Cynthia treads lightly when it comes to her. Huh? She don't want Cynthia don't want that MMA right hook. Huh? That's why she don't approach MIESHA anywhere near the way she approaches Shayna. She doesn't feel physically threatened by her, right? But when it comes to Shayna, though, she can get all the smoke. But see, if the smoke ain't consistent, then you are a bully by definition. Because you don't apply that to everyone who's done you wrong. That woman threw you up, but you got more respect for her than the one that didn't? Cynthia out here making business decisions with MIESHA Tate, but with Shayna, she turns into Amanda Nunes. Let's talk about it tonight. Huh? What is going on here? What is this, Ben 10? Sin 10? Soon as Shayna's the new challenger, oh man, you want all the smoke, huh? You Queen Latifah equalizing. Soon as it's MIESHA in front of you, all of a sudden it's, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I really respect you, MIESHA. You're such a role model. I didn't know your mom was strong. Feminism. But then it comes to Shayna. Man, I never believed in that feminism stuff. My energy has evolved. Once again, no lies detected here. All right? It's crazy to me. Where they do that at? Shayna then grabs the remote, changes the channel, sees MIESHA eavesdropping in the hallway outside the HOH. We saw that during tonight's episode. This was lit as hell, because she G-checked MIESHA in ways Cynthia never would. Okay, when I saw her go into that hallway and say, hey, can I get my alone time with them? I gave you privacy. Then you got MIESHA's butt herself talking about, you didn't give us our privacy. Yes, she did. She went into the bathroom. You said you didn't like the energy in the room. She walked out and let y'all keep talking about her. But let's Cynthia, Carson, and Shayna be in the HOH room for 5 minutes. Y'all can't even give them that. Y'all near the thirsty. And see, I was waiting for Carson and Cynthia to connect the dots. If they told us the truth, why are they eavesdropping by this room? There's nothing to eavesdrop on. If Shayna's not telling the truth, why didn't she eavesdrop when they were talking to us in the bathroom? You notice how all of the actions that usually are the tells to show you who really isn't telling the truth is never applied in this week. It's never applied. There's a lot of selective ignorance, selective amnesia only applied to Todrick and who he's connected to at the hip. If Todrick was not connected to MIESHA, if anyone else was connected to MIESHA, they would be on the block next to her. Well, you see, Todd is right now. But if Todd was moist, I wonder if he'd be on that block. I wonder if it would be LAMAR. Because it really does feel like the game is being played a certain way. And you got to see it for yourself. Don't believe me. Go watch them feeds for yourself over the weekend. You tell me if I'm reaching. I don't think I am. Now, Shayna then grabs the remote once again. And yeah, that's when she went into the hallway. And then that's when MIESHA, you didn't give us our privacy, blah, 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 blah. Shayna had less than 5 minutes, and they were thirsty to listen. If Shayna is just lying, and if the Wonder Twins are telling the truth, why are they so nervous about Shayna telling the Pink Room what went down? Shayna doesn't get enough credit here. She made all these people look like second-rate players by how she handled this. The way MIESHA had to walk downstairs after she got caught was hilarious. Cynthia's lack of understanding of the game is why she shouldn't be the one interrogating anyone's game. Shayna mentioned how she's been guiding Cynthia and Carson with information. That's true. When Cynthia tried to say she has been protecting Shayna again, Shayna finally had enough and asked, how have you been protecting me? Notice Cynthia didn't have no response that made any sense. All she said was, well, we weren't coming for you. What? That doesn't mean you're protecting me. That's like saying, hey, we friends because we not acquaintances. Well, we could be strangers, you idiot. Like, what are you talking about? You could be a stranger, an acquaintance, or a friend. Cynthia's creating the argument here that not coming for someone means you're protecting them. Not coming for someone means you're aligned to them? Since when? Because being aligned means you're protecting them. Not coming for someone isn't the same as protecting them. Cynthia snitched on Chris and Shayna week 2. That isn't protection. Now, granted, she had every right to do that because she felt it was right at the time. But understand, that was Cynthia playing both sides. But she is acting like she's never played both sides. Nobody left as a straight-up player besides maybe Todd because everyone is starting to sell their soul for the Mon One. Cynthia then tries to bash Chris, but Shayna bodies her on that topic too by saying Chris fell on his sword so that the three of them could flip this game. Now, fans know this isn't the real story, but with that said, Shayna still risked Chris to keep the Pink Room together, and Chris wasn't a sore loser about it. That gives some credence to Shayna's point of view more than Cynthia's. Shayna then asks for them to please think about this logically, because this is exactly what the Wonder Twins want and need to survive this week, the Pink Room beefing. Cynthia then says everyone has been on the block but her, but that's not true. LAMAR, MIESHA, and Todrick haven't touched the block either. And Shayna had to win a comp to not touch the block a week ago, while Todrick keeps benefiting from having moist privilege on easy mode. Damn, can we at least put the difficulty on normal for him? Would that be okay, Cynthia? Sin 10? Would that be okay, coach? Huh? I mean, damn. Come on, coach. I mean, damn. Shayna then makes the big girl move of saying if they believe the lies being told to them by that other side, just put her on the block. That's a power move right there. All right, you believe them, just put me on the block then. What's popping? They ain't had a heart to say they're going to put her on the block. See? And in the night, Carson tries to make it, oh, no matter what, a white woman goes home, ha, 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 ha. You're playing yourself, Carson. You're going to be out the door the next week if you send home Shayna. Mark my words, because that's your only shield right now. That's your only shield. And you don't know it. Now, so yes, Shayna even did the Jordan shrug like a boss, and that's in the thumbnail, when she said, put me up then. See, when she started talking like, put me up then if you don't believe me, then all of a sudden Cynthia, oh, let's have a house meeting. Now all of a sudden Cynthia want to have a house meeting. Because now Shayna put Carson and Cynthia in a position of being the real punks. All right, I'm going to play chicken with you. Put me up then. Completely flop as a HOH for the world to see and hand me AFP by throwing me on the block, you dumbasses. Go ahead and do it. See what happens. They ain't have the heart to do that. They ain't had a heart for it. Because they knew if they didn't at least throw MIESHA on that block next to Todd, after Todd fought with Cynthia, and after MIESHA's targeted Carson the last 3 weeks, they could not make sense of it in the edit. And this is what I told y'all. I told y'all they can't afford to put Shayna on the block initially. It's not going to make any sense. Unless they provide 28 flashbacks, how you going to fit that in a Sunday night episode when 20 minutes of it is an endurance comp? It was never going to happen that way. And that's why I believe Shayna didn't touch the block today. So yes, notice how Cynthia was quick to say, let's bring them in here because she ain't the HOH. She is looking for ways to force Carson's hand to do her own dirty work because she knows she can't win no comps to target Shayna herself. Cynthia ran to get reinforcements because she was losing the debate, and Carson was going to take Shayna's side. That's the real tea here. Because when those two were bashing Shayna uninterrupted, Cynthia never said, let's bring Shayna in here. Exposed. Exposed. You not keeping the same energy. You not keeping that same energy. In fact, Cynthia ran out the room to fake a bathroom break when Shayna walked in. So we know who the real alpha is here in this equation, Shayna. And the same reason Cynthia didn't want to have a one-on-one talk with her is the same reason she is running to find backup in this debate. Oh, Lamar, Todd, can y'all help me? Lamar and Todd weren't in Gays and Girls. They weren't in formation. Why are you asking for their help? As if whether or not Shayna called Carson a threat or not, or said throw him up matters. If it's 2 versus 1, how is Shayna supposed to win? This is literally Cynthia running to grab the bullies so they can do to Shayna what they did to Chris. And I'm hoping Carson has taken notes of this, but he didn't. Well, at least not the right notes. Because Shayna's energy is that of someone who is perplexed. She is being questioned after proving herself, while MIESHA and Todrick are banking on players choking to be believed. Then before Cynthia leaves the HOH room, she says, you were happy to leave Carson leave. Shayna says, I took him down though. Then Cynthia says, only so you could go further. That's the game, Cynthia. What? You helped me and my ally stay in the game, but you only did it for your game. So I'm mad at you for not letting him fall on his sword. But I'm going to create the argument you were willing to let him fall on his sword as why you ain't shit as well. She's creating an absolute argument where both sides she wins. Where Shayna is forced to stay in the middle and lose. It's a flawed game she's trying to force Shayna to play. If only she was this good at playing the actual game. Bang! Come on, man. What are we doing here, man? This is such a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, Cynthia. Waste of energy. Like, for real, does she even go here? Does Cynthia not realize Chris would have been the same shield for Shayna? Does she not realize if that veto isn't used, Cynthia is alone in this game? Does she not realize Shayna had options? Now she is acting like words mean more than actions, but the whole thesis of why she believes Todrick and MIESHA is based on actions from week 1, but conveniently only words from week 3. Because Shayna put action in week 3. So now all of a sudden, oh, I only care about the action from week 1. But I'm going to play Amanda's Gymnastics and care about your words from week 3 that I weren't there to see. Is it about actions or is it about words? Todrick bringing a whole bunch of words, no action. Somehow, he has more real estate. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Now she is acting like words mean more than actions, but the whole thesis of why she believes Todrick and MIESHA is based on actions from week 1, but conveniently only words from week 3. If you don't see how this is a witch hunt by now, I don't know what to tell y'all. Cynthia to me seems more focused on fights than strategy. For someone claiming to be the victim of Todd, she is very explosive towards Shayna a day later. Shouldn't you want to lay low a little bit? If you're truly the victim, why are you flying off on the handle on someone? You should be more mad. Why don't you go off on Todd? But you're actually trying to get back up from Todd the next day. Listen, y'all. Listen. What? What? In what world? You would think someone who brings up how Todd tried to intimidate them would see the hypocrisy in going out of their way to start a 3-on-1 fight to intimidate a player. But I digress. Once Shayna started to see Cynthia was going out of her way not to find the truth but ruin her game, she declined to going downstairs because there was nothing she could gain from it if y'all already made up your mind. It's a waste of time. Then Cynthia's on her way out, says Lamar and Todd also said that you said this, that, and the third, so it's quite evident Cynthia's desperate for reinforcements. She lost this debate by a landslide. This was a 10-8 round for Shayna. Shout out to the MMA fans out there. They'll get that. Carson brought Shayna in to speak her truth. Cynthia was confrontational from the start and started talking over Shayna. When she knew she didn't have the facts, she tried to run and go get the liars to create the false facts again for her to piggyback on. Then when Shayna doesn't fall for the trap, all of a sudden Cynthia uses Todd and Lamar as strategy. So if we are doing our math here, Cynthia is mad at Shayna for playing both sides of the game well, but in being so mad, she is exposed that she is playing both sides while trying to expose Shayna for doing it. She named MIESHA, Todrick, Todd, and Lamar. That's 4 out of the 7 players. Add Carson to that, and it's every player left besides Shayna. So what I'm saying is, Cynthia exposed her own game trying to expose Shayna's. Cynthia says Shayna is the busiest person in the house as all 3 walk downstairs, but notice how, when they start walking downstairs, Cynthia gets louder and louder. But she said in the HOH room they didn't need to get loud when they went downstairs. It's like a beacon signal. It was like a Batman signal. Someone come and help me. Damsel in distress. I want to be Amanda Nunes because it's Shayna, but I would love for you to handle this, MIESHA. Tell me this is not what y'all saw. This is what I saw, man. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. She even asked, where is Todrick, when she got in the kitchen like a little puppet. I'm not making none of this up, man. Shayna goes to get Todrick. Then Shayna applies pressure on Todd and Lamar first because she knows they are not prepped for this. Soon as she gets to explaining all the talk she has had with those two, MIESHA tries to run interference talking about game integrity. Everyone interrupts Shayna because they know she's telling the truth. Listen, if someone's creating lies, I'm going to let you keep talking, bruh. Because I actually have debate skills. So I'm going to write down in my head all the things you said that ain't true. And when it's my time to talk, I'm going to hit on you. They couldn't even allow Shayna to finish her talking points. They're so threatened. Are you kidding me, Cupcake? You're the one begging to not be backdoored after you backdoored a man who would drink your bathwater. You want to talk about integrity? You take personal shots at another woman and slut shame her, but you let a man on knowing damn well he had a crush on you when you had a boyfriend at home. You have no integrity. And same goes for Todrick. At least Shayna owns her game. Then Todrick admitted he never said Shayna talks game with Todd and Lamar, which forced Cynthia to get her facts straight again, which once again made her look like his puppet. Because she was so sure that Shayna said, she was so sure that Todrick told her that Shayna talks game with Lamar and Todd. So she said she talks game with Lamar and Todd. When she brought up how she don't talk game with Lamar and Todd, then Todrick changed the narrative to, I didn't say you talk game with them. I just said you said so-and-so and so-and-so to them. And then that made Cynthia look even dumber. She's playing a telephone game with a guy who's telling her stuff he can't even stay consistent with. Then when Shayna comes with the truth, Todrick knows she's going to fact check me and expose me. I got to tell the truth now. But now Todrick has incorporated all of y'all in the mud, in the mess. This is great for his game. He has managed to compromise so many people who thought they were holier than thou and bring them down to his level. And now it just justifies what he did week 1 more. Cynthia, you're not thinking straight. Todrick asks if she was in the final 2. Todrick asks if Shayna was in that final 4 deal. She says no because she wasn't. Then Cynthia chimes back in on how an alliance doesn't need a name. Once again, backup dancer, backup singer, huh? Little ad-libber in the cut, huh? Little offset, I'm just saying what it is, man. Let people hold their own ovaries, hold their own nuts. This ain't your battle, Cynthia. I mean, one of the oldest unwritten rules in Big Brother, if the alliance doesn't have a name, it ain't real. Any real fan knows that, but once again, Cynthia thinks she knows it all, because if Todrick says it, it must be true. I mean, Shayna bodied all four of them, because I don't count LAMAR or Carson in this fight. They were spectators. But the rest, they got sent to the Shadow Realm. Shayna went equalizer on them. She held her own. She didn't let them see her cry or sweat. And now Cynthia made the mistake of letting Shayna know she can't be trusted by Shayna, okay? Because now she is playing both sides. Cynthia did all of that and didn't help her game at all because MIESHA still got thrown up next to TODD. And see, here's the thing. Let's say Shayna survives this week. Let's say she wins veto. Let's say MIESHA's gone. Shayna wins the next HOH. Let's say she goes after Todrick. Todrick wins veto. Who's Shayna going to throw up? You, Cynthia. Because you bucked up. Because you exposed yourself. Because you went out of your way to try to tank her game. So what incentive does she have to take you anywhere now? She might be more willing to cut you over Carson now. You're not thinking. You so busy trying to get even in one day. You got more than enough time for all that. There's a time and a place for everything. But you trying to get it all back at once. I remember back in the day playing rec league basketball, coach used to say if we was down a big lead, one possession at a time, son. One possession at a time. You can't get back. You can't come back from this deficit in one play. You got to make the right play each time in a row to get back in this game. And Cynthia managed to make the wrong decision all day on Saturday. Now, by the end of the night, her and Shayna seemed cordial, but by then, everything spilled over now. There's no way Cynthia could ever put that liquid back in the glass. She had an advantage over Shayna where she clocked her. Shayna didn't clock her back. Now Shayna knows you are onto her based off Todrick. So now she can't get Todrick out. You are the next best thing because you're Todrick's #1 fangirl. Not Carson. It's you. This makes me appreciate Carson a lot because he isn't an emotional player. This is why I said Carson and Shayna had the best chance of winning in my worst to first. A winner must be well prepared, but also calm in the face of a storm. But any of Cynthia, Todrick, MIESHA, or TODD in that same 4 versus 1 game position, none of them win the debate as clean as Shayna just did. Now fans want Shayna to win America's favorite player over everyone on the cast. Imagine fumbling not only the Monwan of the season, but the Monwan of AFP. Couldn't be me. So not only did Cynthia hurt her game, expose herself as playing both sides, and expose herself as Todrick's puppet, she also gave Shayna the inside track on winning AFP over her, which is sure to piss her off more when she realizes fans didn't agree with how she treated Shayna. See, I think she's under the impression fans are going to root for her for doing what she just did, not realizing all those fans that liked you and Carson have flipped on you. Just like Shayna week 1. hey, enough of all that. I ain't following nobody blindly to the end of the world. Y'all blew y'all shot. You feel me? I'm rooting for Shayna now. And LAMAR now. I'm going to keep it a bean. Those are the only two I'm rooting for at this point. The rest of y'all, the rest of y'all are just problematic for me. I'm going to keep it a bean. All right? I'm going to keep it a bean. It's craziness. So, I told y'all this postgame was going to be messy, and we aren't even in Final 6 yet. After Shayna goes into the pink room to cool off for 20 minutes, the rest of the house continues to bash and bully her in the kitchen, because that's what people do. Carson even threw shade by saying when Cynthia wanted to have a house meeting, Shayna started to panic, but that's not how it happened. Truth is, Cynthia panicked to want the house meeting because Shayna was bodying her. Cynthia was speaking over Shayna because she didn't want Shayna to get to Carson. But when it came to Todrick, when it came to MIESHA stating their claim, Carson never interrupted them to try to get Cynthia to see they were full of shit. That's my problem here, man. Cynthia did not allow Carson to have the privileges of the HOH he earned. She made this all about her. And I'd argue this is the Tiffany influence on the game, but I don't need to go there. I'm just saying what it is. There's a common denominator here if you want to connect it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Cynthia wouldn't let Shayna talk. Then she said, let's do this somewhere else because she was losing a debate she had no real knowledge to be involved in. Cynthia is basically that kid in school who didn't read the novel for their book report, so they jumped on Cliff's notes to try to plagiarize Todrick's opinion of the same novel. She can't explain her opinions with real sources other than words from him. And when Shayna wanted more sources and Cynthia couldn't provide them, she tried to run and get a tutor to help her pass the test. That analogy is sound. That analogy is on point. That's what happened. That's what happened. And when Shayna wanted more, I already said that, sorry. None of this is respectable gameplay. Shayna would approach Carson for a one-on-one, and he tries to get her to talk to him in front of everyone again. What is this? This is horrible HOH etiquette. He should have just went into the pink room and had a chat with her and walked out. Now, eventually, he says he will find her later to talk. Apparently, someone thought Shayna would quit over this, but she isn't. And Cynthia uses this as a moment to explain why she is more of a threat. I think it was LAMAR or maybe Todd who thought that Shayna would quit because of how they made her feel. You know, the fact that they would even throw it out there should mean that they are fully aware, they have full faculties of how they just bullied her. But once again, no accountability. Production doesn't care, right? Carson then flopped super hard around 1 p.m. in the kitchen by telling MIESHA, Todd, and Cynthia he plans to keep Shayna from the veto comp if he can during the veto picks and backdoor her this week. Oh, my God. Oh, what an idiot. What an idiot. And by him saying this to Todd, Todrick, and MIESHA, I think that's who he said it. Yeah. No, it was Cynthia, Todd, and MIESHA. By him saying that to Cynthia, Todd, and MIESHA, now he's got to acquiesce to that. So now he's in a position where he has to hope Shayna wins veto, or else he has to backdoor. And I think that's horrible for his win conditions. You feel me? So because Carson refused to break a deal with Todrick, he's now in a position where he has to betray someone who just saved him 2 days ago. That's where we are in this game. Man, this is a dirty game. So whatever credit I wanted to give Carson earlier in this rant has gone out the window. This guy is willing to hand this game to MIESHA over the woman who made this HOH possible. Carson thinks this is the best way to keep his word with everyone involved, so now all fans who want good feeds need Shayna to win this power of veto by any means. And to give you all an update on today's feeds, they were pretty tame, pretty boring. No veto competition, no veto ceremony. Most likely both of those things will be aired live on Monday night on tomorrow night's episode on Valentine's Day, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope y'all do something good for Valentine's Day. You know what I'm saying? Treat yourself, treat your lady, treat your man. Do what you got to do, coach. As for my power rankings, 5th place, MIESHA Tate. 4th place, Shayna MOAKLER. 3rd place, Todd Bridges. 2nd place, LAMAR ODOM. 1st place, Todrick Hall. Cynthia and Carson do not deserve to be in my power ranking top 5 at all. They're both massive flops. They both choked of the highest order. Listen, they choked like Squidward with a fork. I got to keep it a bean tonight. I got to keep it a bean. They choked. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to answer y'all questions because this is one of them nights. When I do a deep dive, I rarely get the chance to answer questions because it's pre-recorded. I want to answer y'all questions. I'm on my way to the Bat Cave. What are your thoughts on this? I hope I did a fantastic job of breaking this down better than the episode did tonight. We are 2 hours in, but I'm still going to answer y'all questions because at the end of the day, it's Super Bowl Sunday, and at the end of the day, I'm a big game player. You know what I'm saying? So I'm on my way, and I want to hear y'all thoughts on this game. I couldn't be more disappointed in Carson and Cynthia. Kudos to Todrick. Hey, man, I thought you was going to come in this game and play terribly. When I started to see the cast, I knew that was impossible because it was built around you. But with that said, you still got to play well. You got to play your schedule, as they say. And I ain't going to lie, man. So far, he's undefeated on his schedule, man. It's an easy schedule. I mean, he's not necessarily playing in the SEC. You feel it, dig me? I feel like Shayna's been in the SEC. I feel like Carson was in the SEC, but he's trying to transfer to a different school with an easier schedule right now. Same with Cynthia, you know. But ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to hit that like button. I'm on my way to the Bat Cave. I want to hear y'all thoughts. Woo! We got a lot of likes in here. It sounds like the streets agree with me. It sounds like the streets agree with me. All right? Good night, Margaret. Hope you have a great night, all right? Oh, man. I'm looking at some of these comments. Yes, Lolo, I had such high hopes for Cynthia. I didn't want her to fail, coach. I didn't. I'm thinking, you know what? She's set up really good here. Todrick's going to always be disliked. In theory, she has Lamar and Todd in the tuck. Then we find out she don't have Todd, but she has Lamar. Okay, we can still work with that. Carson wins HOH. Then all of a sudden, it's like someone from Men in Black showed up with sunglasses on. Flashed that thing in their face and was like, what game was I playing? And production was like, you're aligned to MIESHA and Todrick. You were going after Shayna in a back door, but you have to put up MIESHA and Todd to keep up appearances. And Carson was like, right. Okay. That's what it felt like to me. Huh? That's what it felt like to me. It feel like the players we knew the first 3 weeks are no longer here, bruh. They got some damn what they call? They got stunt doubles. They got stunt doubles in the game for Carson and Cynthia right now. Huh? Like, come on, bro. And it really hurts me because I didn't want to have to hold people accountable like I held them tonight, but it needed to be done for the culture. You see how many people in here tonight, man? I'm glad I did this that late. I'm glad I did this rant so late, man. Y'all was watching Super Bowl too, weren't y'all? You know? Hey, I don't mind you for voting for Lamar for AFP, Selena, but I'm here to tell you, after what just happened to Shayna, Lamar is going to get blown out the water in that vote. Listen, Shayna is, listen, we've had 2 black women win AFP 2 seasons in a row. Cynthia somehow forgot that she had the easy road to getting free money by doing what she did this weekend. It literally has become the Black Woman Award. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just saying that's what it has become. All she had to do was do what fans would have wanted. Keep Carson on the straight and narrow. Make sure he takes out MIESHA by making sure Todrick is next to her. Pull the Dan Giesling. Break the deal with Ollie. Throw up Todrick. Let's see him on the block. I want to see Pondrick. I want to see how he acts on that block. I want to see if his confessionals had that same energy. I want to see if he's as motivated, as gassed to be this narrator. I want to see these things. See, Carson showed me he the same person when he on the block. But he also showed me he ain't the same person as HOH, so I don't know about him. But with that said, though, I've seen Todrick when things are going swell every week of this game. Except maybe week 2. I want to see Todrick when things aren't going well at all. That's what I want to see. But unfortunately, this cast was created so he could be on easy mode, easy street. It is what it is. I'm not trying to be a salty fan of the game, but I can tell based off of y'all reaction to this rant that y'all agree with me on this. It's disgraceful to me. And look, I'm not saying Cynthia shouldn't be on code because that is her win condition. But when you can beat Todd and Lamar, you don't need to coddle Todrick 24/7. There's 2 other black guys. She acting like Todrick the only black dude around. She acting like Lamar and Todd don't exist. But then when it's time to argue with Shayna, she turns into Amanda Nunes. Now all of a sudden she want to recruit Todd and Lamar. All of a sudden all the MFers Todd was calling you the day before, all of the B's he was calling you the day before, all of a sudden, someone Men in Blacked you from that too. Like, what is going on, coach? Huh? I got to figure out what's going on. Does someone have Alzheimer's in that house? I know y'all old in that house. I'm just asking questions. I'm not trying to take personal shots. I'm legitimately concerned. What is going on? Abdi says, Hannah, Kylan, and Tiff better not convince fans to vote for Toddler for AFP. They don't have that much pool, bruh. Trust me. After I saw this, Abdi, you walked me into it. And yes, I had it in the tuck. Hannah, I got to keep it funky with you in these streets. This is an L. I know y'all trying to be part of the joke, but it makes it a bigger L. At the end of the day, taking this picture does not make y'all look any less cringy. I'm going to be honest. And taking it with DX, during these times makes this picture even worse. If you would have kept him out of the picture, I would have gave you a little bit more credit. Then you call it BB 23.5. Braden is not part of your season. Do I have to tell that to you? He's not. He played an anti-black game during BB Can 9. He's not pro-black. Same as Todrick, whose house you all are perfectly fine staying in. Wake up. I mean, listen, man. I gotta tell it like I gotta tell it, man. It looks like L's all around, bro. It's like a session. Oh, I'm feeling it tonight. I'm in the zone. All right, auto zone. I'm feeling it. Hey, you like that lifeguard scenario, Michelle, huh? It was clean. My analogies be up there. You know what it is. I saw a lot of Real Housewives of Atlanta in her. Oh, so that's how she be on that. I thought she was the one with no drama on Real Housewives. Now she look like I don't know the ladies' names on that show. What's the name? She looked like one of them other ladies that y'all wanted on the show over her. How about that? That lets you know I don't watch it. I was trying to Nene Leakes. There you go. I was like, what's the name again? No shade though. I mean, come on, bro. Come on, dog. Whew. Cynthia, Carson, and Shayna are your shield and stepping stones in the game. Miss B says Carson should have put MIESHA and Todrick up like MIESHA did him and Cynthia. You're right. Big brother do bounce checks. That's the game. Real talk. You know, and my fear is Cynthia getting involved in this drama with someone like Shayna, who's capable of winning so many yoke artist comps. We're getting towards final 6. Shayna somehow wins this veto today, makes it to next week. Let's say MIESHA goes because Shayna kept noms the same. Shayna is the favorite to win that HOH over Todrick. Cynthia, you just put yourself in a position where Todrick looks better to Shayna than you possibly, because you wouldn't shut up. Let Todrick be the one Shayna hates. You don't always have to choose a side. And if Todrick ain't forced to always choose a side, why you got to be the one to choose his? I don't understand that. I really don't. And by the way, for all the people who sent in super chats, I'm gonna try to make you all give y'all wrench later after the stream. I'm sorry if I can't remember y'all names. I was in the zone when y'all sent them in. Keisha Bellamy says, "Hey coach, what's good? Good evening. Good evening to you, Keish. Good to see you." Oh, well, Avery has confirmed. Nene used to say some things. That's all I'm going to say. Keisha says, who won the head of household? Carson. I was going to think of a funny name for it, but I ain't going to do it. Nanye asked the question, where did Shayna go wrong? Do you think maybe she should have included CNC in on her plans outside of the alliance? She did include them on her plans outside of the alliance. So, but it's still bitter in the ass because they don't care about. And see, this goes back to what I brought up, right? The action that Shayna did to prove herself to them was the type of action that means so much. It's like using an immunity idol on someone when you know they're going. Remember when Jeremy Collins did that for Stephen Fishback during Second Chances? Remember how Stephen Fishback vowed to do whatever Jeremy needed because of that? Stephen did not know the blind side was coming. People were writing, they were drawing the little bell from Rob Has a Podcast on the little parchment to send Fishback home. They wanted to smoke with him because they felt as if he may have been a production pet. He's close to Rob. Let's get him out. We don't want him winning this season. Jeremy Collins was smart. He said, I'm going to use that immunity idol on you. I'm going to keep you around because you're a shield for me because there's a lot of people who hate you. Understand, that was back when Andrew Savage was going at it with Fishback. And, of course, Joe Amazing, whatever that guy's name is. The dude who did the Mana stuff with that chick from Survivor 1. It was kind of awkward. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, at the end of the day, Jeremy Collins, that move to save Fishback was so smart because he ended up winning that season. And I believe that one move he made to save Fishback, I don't know who he got rid of that week, but I just know the person he got rid of that week, he needed to get rid of. And he knew when to take the shot. And he never was scared that, oh, maybe Fishback can't win an immunity comp for me later in the game. No, he saw the purpose Fishback could serve for him. It's great gameplay, standard gameplay. For Cynthia to act as if, Shayna, you only use veto on Carson to push yourself further. That's why anyone uses the veto on someone. Huh? So we should only use the veto when it hurts our game? What are you talking about? See, no matter how you shake it, someone who doesn't get the game should not be heavy-handed with their criticism of someone's game. It's like someone who's never watched basketball trying to break down what a crossover is. My guy, you might not even know how to tie sneakers yet. I got to be real in these streets. You know what I mean? Baby steps. Baby steps. Now you ask the question, how can Shayna get back on track? She has to win veto, and she has to win HOH. I don't think she can afford to not win the next HOH. She will just be targeted next. So she has to win veto, win HOH, and then by winning that next HOH, it forces Cynthia to either kiss her butt, apologize, and increase her win con, or Cynthia gonna be that stubborn woman who somehow gets sent home in 6th place when it doesn't make any sense. Because you gotta look at it from Todrick's perspective. Does he really believe he can beat Cynthia? I think he believes he could beat Lamar and Todd before Cynthia. I'm just saying. All of the people who hate Todrick like Cynthia, pretty much. Now, Chris might not like her anymore after how she's doing Shayna, but you get my point. But yes, in order for Shayna's game to get back on track, Nanye, she has to win the power of veto, and she has to win the HOH tomorrow night. If she doesn't do those two things in a row, she pretty much has to win 4 vetoes in a row if she can't win the next HOH tomorrow. So, yeah. You know, sometimes you got to make yourself into a massive threat to flip the game. And she's already a massive threat, so what's adding another layer of threat to yourself? It is what it is. It is what it is. Abdi asked the question, did Cynthia hurt Lamar's chances of winning AFP by using... Absolutely, Abdi. I believe Cynthia cost every black person a chance at AFP tonight. And what you got to also take into consideration, y'all, every black player is going to cut into every other black player's vote, too. Lamar's going to be liked by a lot of non-black people. He's cutting into Cynthia's vote. Cynthia might get a lot of black woman votes, but a lot of gay blacks might give it to Todrick. Also, Todd Bridges might get votes from old school people who just like different strokes. They're going to all cut into each other's votes. Meanwhile, Shayna is the only white woman that's digestible from this season now. TEDDI was evicted first. She can't win AFP. She didn't play long enough. MIESHA is despised universally. It is what it is. And MARAI went out second. At the end of the day, what woman is really going to be rewarded in an era where everyone claims men get handed too many things? It seems the AFP is becoming a woman's award. I just see the AFP to be in Shayna's hands already. She's got it, man. And if she finds a way to win the veto this week, oh, it's over. Throw away the key. Throw away the key. I think it's over anyway, even if she don't win the veto. If she gets backdoored, and she is viewed as the person who used the veto on someone and then gets backdoored by that same someone, listen, that's going to cut into Cynthia's vote, Carson's vote, Lamar's vote, Todd's vote. Everybody who helped partake in this bullying tactic, all of them are going to lose votes. It's going to go to Shayna. And see, there's already a lot of organization to make sure Shayna wins this already in the works. I'm not lying to y'all. My sources have told me people are ready to make sure a message is sent if Shayna is done dirty this week. People are ready. So, but ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have enjoyed this rant. This was an old school rant. I ain't done a rant this long in ages, it feels like. Maybe during BB23 I gave y'all one rant over 2 hours. I don't know. But if you could, please do not forget to like this video, comment underneath it, and share it with all of the fans of Big Brother Celebrity Edition Season 3 that you rock with. What are your thoughts? Do you believe and do you agree that Carson and Cynthia choked of the highest order this week? Were you disgusted by this episode? Tomorrow night, are you rooting for Shayna to win this POV? I believe it's the only thing we can root for. I mean, who really wants to see Shayna go home next and MIESHA, Tate, and Todrick continue to dominate the game they've already been dominating the entire time? Do we want that, or do we want something to change? Lamar wants MIESHA gone. In my opinion, Lamar will fight for this veto if he can. That's some saving grace. But with that said, everything rides on Shayna here. Everything rides on her. She has proven herself to be a clutch competitor. I respect the way she's handled herself, even when people pounce on her, smelling weakness, smelling blood. I like the way she ain't scared to stay in the pocket and just swing. But she's also logical enough to know, okay, if they're trying to bait me into a fight to further bury my game, I'm not going to give them what they want. I'm going to the bedroom and I'm finna chill out, cool down, and I'll talk to them later. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the veto anyway. All this other stuff, it was good for today's episode. Don't get it twisted. Without these fights, maybe today's episode is completely boring. Maybe this rant's completely boring. So I am thankful a little bit for that much. But at the end of the day, Coach, Shayna, she made some mistakes. In my opinion, she has atoned for said mistakes. All she did was not throw a vote to TEDDI and force a tie where MIESHA would have sent TEDDI home anyway. That's her only real cardinal sin here. But when it came down to it, she used the veto, which made sure Cynthia and Carson's ungrateful asses were able to be in the position they are today of flopping. So at the end of the day, this ain't Shayna's fault. This is on Carson and Cynthia completely. But Todrick does deserve some credit for manipulating them into choking. It is what it is. And I'm Dave Smith with Recency Bias Radio with no one to say from criticism. People can't say I don't give credit where it is due. Because even though it pains me to have to, I got to admit Todrick's #1 in this power ranking and he has earned that slot. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday night. I appreciate y'all being here this deep, this late. And I'm going to see y'all tomorrow night for another one. And hopefully Shayna has the spirit of Ogun protecting her during this power veto competition. Because right now, a lot of these black folks are they're losing the plot. That's all I'm going to say. They're losing the plot. All right? But once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all on the flip side, all right? Deuces.